If you've ever woken up and thought it's Friday and then realized it's not even close to Friday, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Folks, welcome back for another episode of Benzinga's PreMarket Playbook here on Wednesday, April 8th. It is going to be a hump day or a schlump day that we will probably remember here. The Empire does strike back with 84% tariffs. We're going to go ahead and break it all down. Loading up for you on guests today. We've got Tim Melvin. It's going to be a little bit later than usual. We're going to do that at 9 a.m. And we're going to have Matt Maley on at 10 a.m. I know we missed him on Monday. We're going to get him back here today. So Benzinga's pre-market playbook for Wednesday, April 9th starts right now. All right, folks, good morning and welcome back. And yep, it is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces yet again. You folks really bringing the energy here. How about the compliment we got for the entire community here from Adam Mesh yesterday? I tell you what, we're doing something right here. And we're going to keep doing something right. Kayla, good morning. Great to see you. Reaching financial freedom. Are we there yet? I don't think so, but I'm not going to rule out a possibility of a bounce here today. I'd actually rather see the futures a little bit weak. Maybe I just like pain. Reaching financial freedom. Good morning. Welcome back. Paul, good morning. It's great to see you again. Welcome back. Pete, good morning. 84% good morning? Nonsense, Pete. I give you 100%. Good morning. Welcome back, my man. Lion, good to see you again. Welcome back. Crimp Biscuit, welcome back. Peter, welcome back. Rafat, good morning, my man. Welcome back. Bigabees, where there's pain, there's gain. Bigabees, I can really appreciate your glass half full approach every day. You do bring calm and sanity to what we're doing here. Good morning, my man. Florida Yacht Insurance Guy, good morning. Driving airboats today, no trading. Sounds like you got the good end of that deal. I've heard airboats are fun. Never been on one. Sebastian, good morning. This looks like a Faluna Fallout Thursday. Sebastian, I love how I'm getting titled and blamed for all of this stuff. We'll take it, though. Good morning. Welcome back. It is indeed a good time to be alive. Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning. Welcome back. Artisan Custom Homes, good morning. Bernhard, good morning. Glass half full. Let's go. Glass half full. Love the handle. Good morning. Mark, good morning. Welcome back. Gary and Hisham, welcome back. Hellcat, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Tom, good morning. Fairchild, good morning. Thomas, good morning. Jeff, Harley, and Chuck, good morning. JJ, Dan, Wiss, Hans Yolo. Let's go with these handles. That is awesome. Ed, good morning. Your camouflage is a sneak attack. This was actually just next up in the rotation, but if we can make something out of it, we will. Good morning. Kevin, good morning. Ali, good morning. Richard, good morning. ATL Russ, checking in. What's up, my man? Good morning. EB, good morning. And thinking about it. Good morning. Thinking about it. What are you thinking about? Let's think about the market together. You see what I did there? Here is a look at the SPY chart, and boy, oh boy, we're choppy. I think that is goes without saying here. S&P futures down 1.75% on the back of the Chinese government striking back with 84% tariffs here. Dow futures down 2%. And the NASDAQ futures here down 1.5%. So the Dow seems to be getting hit the most, followed by the SPY, and then the NASDAQ. A look here at the SPY, we are actually slightly below the 20% pullback level, firmly in bear territory. One of the things that we said yesterday, super proud of this, really, really hope that you folks were either able to take advantage or stay protected, whichever one should be good. We mentioned yesterday, despite the move in the pre-market higher, really wanted to be prepared for this market to go lower. 13 even said multiple times yesterday that both of us expect this to resolve lower. Well, we can't tell you exactly when that is. We do kind of expect lower levels. And guess what? That entire rally yesterday got sold there, confirming that we are in a bear tape here. Rallies like that in a bear tape likely to get sold. And until something changes, that is probably going to be what we see here. So SPY here, again, beneath the 490 level. We'll see if we get down and print 480. The overnight low from the other day was 479.26 or something like that, 479 and change. So we did bounce off of that level, but we never actually printed it in the regular session. It'll be quite interesting to see if we can print it in the pre-market session here today. Upside levels. Definitely 500, definitely the 490, the 20% pullback level. 13 probably has some more from some previous highs that we can take a look at as well. So, all right, let's go ahead and dive through the news. I'm sure you folks, if you have been up, you are already aware of what's going on. Xi Jinping hits back. China raises tariffs on U.S. goods to 84%, doubling down on the trade war. Xi Jinping's China unveiled a significant hike in retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products, intensifying the ongoing trade war between the world's two biggest economies, On Wednesday, China declared it will raise its reciprocal tariffs on U.S. goods to 84%. From the previous 34% from April 10th, reported by the South China Morning Post. This move comes in the wake of intensifying trade conflicts between the U.S. and China. This comes amid the latest U.S. tariff hike, which brings levels on Chinese goods to more than 100%. We talked about this yesterday, 104%. And that takes place starting today at midnight, overnight last night. In response to the new U.S. tariffs, the Ministry of Commerce not only filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization, but also added 6 American companies to the unreliable entity list. This is also something that 13 and I had talked about. We had spoken with our connection in Asia on Happy Hour, and he had warned us days in advance that this was likely to happen, and we brought it here to you. Additionally, it will impose export controls on 12 U.S. firms, prohibiting Chinese companies from supplying them with dual-use items, products that can serve both civilian and military purposes. Quote, China will firmly defend its interests, multilateral trade systems, and international economic order, end quote, stated by the Chinese Finance Ministry online. The announcement comes on the heels of Trump's 104% tariffs on Chinese exports, which sent stocks plunging and major indexes to significant lows. Despite the escalating trade war, many U.S. companies have chosen to stick with their operations in China, viewing it as a strategic value. A report commissioned by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation revealed that a majority of surveyed firms still see value in maintaining or expanding their presence in China, even as they increasingly view it as their biggest geopolitical risk. Does that say that some of these decision makers here think that this is going to be resolved? You folks tell me. I don't know the answer to that, but that's definitely going to be something that we're looking at here. In the U.S. pre-market session, U.S. listed China stocks trade mixed. Baidu is about flat. NIO is down about 1.2%. XPeng was actually up earlier. I'm not sure if it still is. Let me check here real quick. XPEV, it is about flat. So that actually bled back the 1.5% gains there. Li Auto also saw some modest gains. So the other thing that's happened here, it wasn't in this article, probably because it just happened here. Besant said 2 things. He said, so they raised the tariffs on Chinese goods. So what? Number one. And number two, was asked, what other measures could be at play here? And he floated the idea, said everything was on the table. I don't want to start false headlines here. Said everything was on the table in response to removing Chinese ADRs from the U.S. stock market. So if you have some of those, it might be time to consider what you're going to do with that, or at least have some type of plan. Nothing concrete on that, but that was kind of floated here this morning. Let's take a look here. U.S. stock futures to trade mixed ahead of the opening bell. We talked about the tariffs being on there. I wanted to get to some quotes here real quick. In this environment of heightened uncertainty, I'm not even going to try to pronounce Julia's last name here because I'm just going to embarrass myself. CEO at European broker Mind Money advises investors to focus on capital preservation rather than chasing high returns. That's something that we have talked about quite a bit here. Definitely don't want to chase, and capital preservation should be goal number one. Quote, the most rational strategy in the short term is to focus on liquidity, reliable fixed income instruments, somewhere I hear Tim Melvin pumping his fist, and safe haven assets such as gold. This is not an attempt to make money, but a need to preserve capital in conditions of high uncertainty. So these are things that we have definitely been talking about here, and things that we definitely need to pay attention to here. The widening 3-year SOFR swap spread is signaling growing liquidity problems within the U.S. banking system, according to ARK Invest CEO Kathy Wood. We actually have that story as well, so if you want to read about that a little bit more, you can. Cathie Wood making some news here this morning with all of that. So we'll see where that ends up going. I wanted to get to one more here. Cathie Wood. Oh, meanwhile, here we go. Ed Yardeni of Yardeni Research suggests that fixed income investors may be starting to worry that Chinese and other foreigners might start selling their U.S. treasuries. Actually, I was watching TLT here this morning. TLT getting really smoked here, down to 85.75. Huge pullback. That thing had recently, we can actually go back to the chart here real quick. Taking a look at TLT, this was recently trying to break above its 200-day moving average. We did get one close above it. This just really kind of signifies the importance of three closes above it. We got one close above it here, but an immediate reversal, and it actually looks lower here in the pre-market by, what, about 3 points, 2.5 points? So TLT getting smoked here also tells me the world doesn't necessarily want to buy our paper. Let me go back to Yardeni's quote here. Adding to the market unease, credit markets are exhibiting increased strain evidenced by a rapidly widening yield spread between high-yield corporate bonds and the 10-year Treasury. Data from Yardeni indicates that this spread reached 407 basis points on April 7th, signaling a declining investor confidence and growing concerns about an economic slowdown or a potential recession. Stop me if you're tired of hearing the word recession. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more of that coming up here. Quote, the good news is that the Fed put will probably make a quick comeback if this happens. End quote. We'll see which one blinks first. We got a good old-fashioned standoff here between Trump, Xi, and the Fed. We got another quote here. I wanted to go to, I got to figure out what story it is. I'm sorry. There's so much news here, and it is all the same. Let me see if I can find, here we go. This is what I was looking at. So first of all, here's the story for Cathie. Producer, do your best to try and keep up here. I know I'm jumping around here. All of these stories are the same. Everything is about these tariffs and all of that. Following a jump in the U.S. Treasury yields, the SOFR, or the Secured Overnight Financing Rate swap spreads have widened, signaling a serious liquidity issue. This is what we were just quoting here from Cathie. We have her quote in two different stories here. Sorry. And then I also wanted to cover this from Peter Schiff. We had talked about the quote here from Ed Yardeni about the Fed put. Additionally, highlighting his concerns about rising yields, economist Peter Schiff said, quote, without an emergency rate cut tomorrow, which would be today, tomorrow morning, and the announcement of a massive QE program, tomorrow could be a 1987 style market crash. So, producer, I think that's what we should do for our poll question here. Who thinks today is going to be a 1987 style stock market crash? Who thinks that? Let's maybe throw that up here as a poll and give you three options there. Let's see if how many people agree with Peter Schiff here this morning. Okay, let me again try to find where I'm at here. Okay, now we're going to try to go with some positive news here. For GM to witness higher demand as American car makers set to, quote, reap the fruit of protectionism, end quote. Here's a list of potential gainers and losers from the Trump tariffs. Despite President Donald Trump's tariffs sending shockwaves through the stock market, one analyst believes the domestic automotive industry in the U.S. is poised for a surprising boost. While the tariffs for U.S. trading partners have come for a damaging effect on the stock market, they have also fueled the fears of a slowdown in the economy and a possible recession. According to John Murillo, the chief dealing officer at global fintech solutions provider for financial institution Bedu Broker, Trump tariffs preemptively target meals. Come on, Ryan. Trump's tariffs preemptively target metals, cars, and high-tech imports into the U.S., which seemingly spells trouble, quote, specifically for these sectors. However, he goes on to add that the devils are hiding in the details, as they always are, and sees protectionist measures as a silver lining for the American automotive sector, predicting increased demand due to reduced foreign competition. Quote, since tariffs are imposed on foreign cars competing with U.S. cars for consumer preferences, it will be precisely the American automotive industry that reaps the fruits of this protectionism. Okay, we'll see. Murillo states that despite the initial negative reaction following a cut in dividends from the Ford Motor Company executives, Ford and General Motor will see higher demand of their production over time, which will offset all current inconveniences with reorientation for alternative foreign supply parts producers. Quote, we must also not forget Donald Trump's bet on the American oil industry, says Murillo, stating that he will zealously protect American businesses. and we know that conventional energy is the subject of his special focus. He is expected to fight with big oil companies worldwide in every possible way, and this is very positive news for U.S. oil stocks, despite the current softness of oil prices, which was in a 50 handle here this morning. Crude futures here, 56.23 presently, which will especially benefit classic oil producers like Exxon and Chevron. Some of you, I think, were trading Exxon and Chevron. You'll have to remind me, but Murillo here saying that these two should be pretty good, given what's going on here. The tariffs are considered protectionist policies as they are taxes that a government levies on imported goods. The primary objective of tariffs is to protect domestic industries and produce the same or similar goods. We also had news here this morning that Walmart pulled its guidance. That's also something that we expected, kind of talked about here. With all of the uncertainty out there, it is baffling how CEOs are going to give guidance or raise guidance, I guess, to a lesser extent there. And then we also saw Delta this morning said that they would not reaffirm their guidance in all of this uncertainty as well. The most evident losers will be retail stocks such as Costco and Walmart. Now, Walmart also under pressure here this morning. Again, we just talked about them pulling their guidance. Let me take a look here at Walmart. Okay, so this is actually coming back a little bit. I was going to say this was down a little bit earlier when we were taking a look at it. Back here at about 80, you can see here is the pre-market price action for Walmart. We are still beneath the 200, but frankly, if Walmart really starts to get hit some more, I wouldn't be surprised if this traded back down to the 500. Won't do it quickly, would do it over some time, but wouldn't necessarily be shocked if that's the case. Let me go back to the story here. Here we go. PC, server, and phone equipment manufacturers like HP, Cisco, and Apple will also feel the heat because many of the essential parts have been delivered from China for decades. Now, Apple here under pressure this morning, closed at 172. We're sitting down here at 169. So Apple weak here in the pre-market. We also got headlines of them recently moving stuff to India. So we'll see if that continues to pick up or if we get more headlines on that front. Also wanted to go here with some Ray Dalio for you here. Ray Dalio says, don't make the mistake of thinking that what's happening now is due to Trump tariffs. Boy, I bet social media loves this guy for saying that. I actually didn't even check the replies of this tweet, but that might be something to do a little bit later when we have some time. Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates and an influential voice among investors, has delivered a sobering message where the United States citizens are not dealing with trade skirmishes, but watching a slow motion collapse of the global system as we know it. In a detailed public post, Dalio criticized the media and market obsession with President Trump's tariffs, arguing that they are merely, quote, a symptom, not the cause, end quote, of the turmoil. Don't make the mistake of thinking that what's happening now is happening, or what's happening now happening. God bless it. Don't make the mistake of thinking that what's now happening is mostly about tariffs, he warned. Here's the tweet itself. If you folks want to go through exactly what he said here, I'm going to highlight it here with some of the bullet points that were pulled out of this. Dalio outlines what he sees as 5 converging crises. Monetary and economic breakdown. U.S. debt now exceeds $36 trillion and will continue to balloon. Dalio calls the U.S.-China economic relationship an encourageous debtor-creditor addiction cycle driven by deglobalization and dangerously unsustainable borrowing. Domestic political unraveling. He sees the deepening rift between the far left and the far right. Compromise, quote, compromised is now viewed as weakness, end quote. Echoing data from Pew Research that shows 85% of Americans believe the political conflict is worsening. I think we talk about that here pretty often. Okay. A geopolitical realignment. The old U.S.-led world order is breaking apart. Trump's America First strategy from tariffs to tech bans signals a shift to a power rules approach. Dalio connects this to historical cycles in which emerging power challenge incumbents. China, in this case, whose GDP overtook the U.S. in 2024 per IMF data. Also goes on to talk about climate instability. Foods, droughts, and pandemics are no longer one-off events. They're systemic shocks that further erode fragile political and financial systems. And then a technology disruption here. AI is accelerating everything that we definitely know, from geopolitical arms race to labor market dislocation. Quote, this is not business as usual. Dalio suggests that policymakers stop reacting to headlines. Good luck with that, Ray. Stop reacting to headlines and start studying the past. What's happening now resembles a debt default cycle of the 1930s and the stagflation chaos of the 1970s. So Ray Dalio giving you some stuff there. Also, we did talk a little bit about Cathie Wood. I think I went through that. I guess we could go through some of the ads here. She made some significant trades in major companies such as Amazon, NVIDIA, Tempest AI, and Coinbase. These trades reflect ARK's strategic positioning in the market amidst fluctuating stock prices. The funds acquiring a total of 33,746 shares of Amazon. Let's see what else that we have here. The NVIDIA trade. Here we go. ARK, the Involved ARK's Invest ARK Fund. You try saying it 3 times fast. It's hard. The Involved ARK's Invest ARK Fund purchasing 188,980 shares of NVIDIA with a closing price of $96. That's actually right beneath our yellow parallel channel that we've really kind of been focusing on recently. So it looks like buying NVIDIA there. For Tempest AI, the fund is buying 47,000 shares, just shy of 47,000 shares of the company. And Coinbase here, they're purchasing just shy of 32,000 shares of Coinbase. So Cathie Wood doing some buying here. We'll see if she can finally get a W. I know it's been tough for some of those Cathie trades recently. We've outlined them quite a bit here. Okay, last story that I want to get to real quick. PanW. Palo Alto Networks crosses 1.5 billion in Google Cloud Marketplace sales. And of course, that's driven by AI, as we've talked about. Palo Alto Network shares briefly popped in Tuesday's after-hour sessions after the company announced it crossed 1.5 billion in sales on the Google Cloud Marketplace. After the market closed on Tuesday, Palo Alto announced that it surpassed 1.5 billion in cumulative sales through Alphabet's Google Cloud as of April. Quote, with Google Cloud, we can combine the AI ML capabilities with Palo Alto Network's industry-leading security platform to provide a comprehensive suite of AI-driven security offerings. Christy Frederick's Chief Partnership Officer at Palo Alto Networks. Quote, the deep collaboration helps customers achieve their AI and digital innovation objectives while mitigating associated risks. Surpassing 1.5 billion in sales on China's Google Cloud Marketplace signifies the demand for innovative security solutions as organizations prioritize cloud-first strategies. Palo Alto announced it was recognized with 5 2025 Google Cloud Partners of the Year awards spanning AI technology. Palo Alto jumped above the 157 level in after hours trading Tuesday before pulling back. It is down here at 150, although it is up off the lows and slightly beneath the closing price. I still like Palo Alto here as a theme, especially for 2025. Best in breed for cybersecurity. Like what they're doing. Part of the whole thing is just kind of waiting out some of the turmoil here and trying to pick some of those levels, be tactical and deliberate about that. Okay, I think that does it for the news rundown here. A lot about tariffs. I'm sorry for being all over the board. There doesn't really seem to be a whole lot of other news out there. We can go over whatever it is that you want. Again, Tim Melvin's going to be on a little bit later here, so we can take a look at some of the charts, take a look where we're at with some of these stocks. I guess we could just start with some of the popular ones. Let me know if there are any stocks out there that you folks are looking for. Again, tons of participation here. Not sure if I missed anything here. Palantir, you guys are asking about Palantir. We're talking about Palantir. We can absolutely take a look at that. Still waiting out 60 on this Palantir. So we'll see if we get it. Paul saying no 87 crash. Paul, I'm with you on that one. Sanat Senate, saying you're going to get your Palantir at 70. I actually want 60, right? We're kind of looking at this breakout level here. I have it marked off at 61.35, but I think if we get that close, especially on a pullback like this, we're liable to print 60. Still waiting on that. Still waiting on the Bitcoin fill at 77 or at 70K, excuse me. Bitcoin price currently, Bitcoin futures here, 76,285. So we're making our way down there. We'll see when we get that filled. We'll see if we get another pullback here in Bitcoin. Palantir, though, again, what I'm waiting out here is the 60. I do kind of expect, like I was saying, if we get down to the 61.35, we're likely to test 60. Wouldn't be surprised if we kind of overshot that and then see what we do here around the 200-day moving average. That's at 58.25, 58.23 here. So we'll see if we end up getting down there on Palantir. We also had talk yesterday. There was a headline about the defense budget. Palantir looked like it traded up on that a little bit. So we'll see what Palantir ends up doing here. Again, not really in a rush. Do like this long term, but not really in a rush. In an environment like this, just kind of what we were talking about with the capital preservation there, that is definitely going to be goal number one. Any trades that I take here have been very, very small, and I've had an expectation, especially with the options one, I've had an expectation that those can very easily go to zero. This is also why Matt Maley has been doing so well. A lot of those positions that we've been talking about that are hundreds or even thousands of % gain have been very, very short-term positions. Dude picks his spots exactly like you should and never really over risks. So he has exposure to some of these moves, but it's never really in a chance to create a wipeout move, which I think is what we really need to do. Things moving around this fast, it can be extremely unpredictable. And as the title suggested, everything seems to be headline driven. And that does not look like that is going to change anytime soon. So Palantir, just kind of waiting this out. Sure looks to me like this wants lower, with a lot of these stocks getting absolutely clobbered. Some of them, drastically under their 500-day moving average. Very tough for me to say, yeah, you know what? Palantir is a buy up here before we've even tested that 200-day. I think a lot of these tech names could really come back in. And if we have a capitulatory move and everything just sells off, then you might get some of these really low prices on some of this stuff. So we'll see here on Palantir. Cam, you want to take a look at NVIDIA and Meta. Ed, you want to take a look at Best Buy. Boy, we don't get a lot of Best Buy around here, but yeah, we can absolutely do that. We can absolutely do that. Okay. My trading strategy will be the inverse Kramer, LOL. Keep track of those stats. Let me know how that's going. And you also want to take a look at Apple. Okay, let me add those here real quick, just so I don't forget, because I'm likely to forget that. We're going to do Best Buy, Meta, NVIDIA, and then Apple. Let's take a look at all of those charts here this morning. I'm actually going to start with Best Buy, just because I feel like that's not a common one here. Let's start with that. Ticker BBY, Best Buy getting absolutely smoked here. We actually broke down from this kind of sideways range. This has been going all the way from the summer of 2022. It looked like we were actually trying to retest some of those highs there, but obviously this move down here in October really kind of started it. And with the recent news here, a lot more downside here. The next level on Best Buy that I'm really looking at, I would actually kind of forego that 50 level. I know we talk a lot about round numbers here, but again, my thought here is that we got a pretty substantial double bottom that goes all the way back to 2018 and 2020. That also incorporates the COVID low, interestingly enough. This would be the next area that I'm looking at for a potential bounce here on Best Buy. Again, the whole thing here, though, it really depends on what you're trying to trade for. If you're looking for a short-term trade, I get it. I think that that's probably the way to go. For me, I've actually even pared that back a little bit more. Instead of going after single stocks, it really seems to me that the ETFs give us the best opportunity. Seems to make the most sense, and they're clearly liquid enough for you to do whatever it is that you need to do in the event that you're wrong, which, again, going back to capital preservation, I think should be goal number one. So not really in a hurry to buy any of these individual names, but it sure looks like this $48 level looks pretty good. Brandy here saying Mark Petrino was talking about Best Buy. That doesn't surprise me, because it does look like this is kind of coming up here. It does look like this support level is coming up here. One of the themes that Mark has talked about is how non-coincidental it is that very specific price levels, sometimes from years ago, end up coming into play again. And I think that that's probably where it's going. I don't want to speak for him. We can ask him on Friday when he shows up, so we could just have him tell us that. But Brandy, I appreciate that. Not surprised here. I think he's probably waiting out a little bit more of a pullback here in Best Buy. Best Buy has a good dividend, pays 5%. 95 cents per share annually here. So that dividend is paid out quarterly. So there you go. Best Buy, maybe a possible dividend play here if you're looking at that, if it gets down to that support level. And then upside levels, I guess one of the things that I'd be looking for is really kind of this gap. But honestly, I mean, just look at this candle here from yesterday. Not technically a bearish engulfing candle because it didn't get the top end of the candle from Monday, but boy, oh boy, what a huge reversal here on volume, completely oversold now on Best Buy. Again, today, I think the strategy here should be wait out the opening print because that's what I'm going to do. So we'll see here. Best Buy, good stuff. Glad we're actually talking about Best Buy. It's been a while. Next here, let's talk about Meta, or let's take a look at the Meta chart here. Meta continues its move down towards the 500-day. I feel like it was just last week that we were talking about how Meta was one of the only stocks that really hadn't even come to its 200-day. Well, we did bounce off that. We tried to bounce a second time, but did not have the strength to do that. Now we've pulled back down here some more. I got to say 510 here, or 510 was the price yesterday, closing price yesterday, down here at 499.89. Looks like it's really trying to just kind of recapture the round 500 number here. I'll be quite honest with you, looking at Meta, I do think that this probably comes into its 500-day. I'm just not sure all of the weakness is over, and I certainly don't feel like it's time to back the truck up for buys, at least not yet. Brandy saying he expected a bounce, I think. Judging by the chart we just looked at, Brandy, that would make complete sense to me. Again, I don't want to put words in Mark's mouth or anything, but that makes a lot of sense. Maybe we should just ask him about that tomorrow anyway. That actually looked like a pretty interesting chart. Anyway, getting back to Meta here, I still think we've got some more downside. Would not be in a hurry to buy this either. We'll see if this can actually retrace another 50 points and move down to that 448, 450-ish level here. See if we get some support. The other thing to note, though, on Meta is we do have the low here from April of 2024. There's actually a gap in here, right? So if we come down and we test this level and this level can't hold, I would not be terribly shocked if you have this gap filled down to 400. So this would be something else to factor in or watch if you're looking at Meta here, especially if you're kind of waiting this out for a buy spot. Got to think that if we get all the way down here and things aren't feeling pretty good, Meta might search to close that gap. Cam here saying definitely more downside to go. I kind of think the same way here on Meta. All right, let's take a look at NVIDIA. Here you go. NVIDIA down at 96.59. We're actually we're beneath, but we're right at the bottom edge of that channel. This channel has served us well. We'll see if NVIDIA has any strength here today. If it doesn't, if it continues to roll over, it's actually up here in the pre-market because it was up earlier, gave back some of those gains when we got the headline about the 84% retaliatory tariffs from China, holding in pretty well. I guess I would have expected this to break down. And actually looking at the intraday chart here, technically we're in this channel. So I would watch this area here, this 96 area seemingly going to be a pretty important level here today. You can see in the after hours, we were kind of flirting with this whole area. We'll see if we end up breaking down from here. If we do break down from here, the next spot that I've got for you here, 86 on NVIDIA. Also, NVIDIA here approaching oversold territory again. See if we get another bounce there from oversold territory. Okay, next, you guys wanted to take, guys and gals, I keep doing that, and I'm sorry about that. Apple, all right? Apple, this one should be fairly obvious. This one has a lot of exposure to the Chinese trade spat that's going on back and forth. This is one of the companies that China is likely going to target for all of its retaliatory measures. However, we did actually kind of discuss this a little bit yesterday in Happy Hour. Bernhard from Happy Hour, I think you're here again this morning. We're looking at some support levels here because, again, I do think that there is a buy spot here for a trade. Long-term investment unchanged here until they stop selling the iPhone. I don't think that is going to change. But I've basically got this purple shaded area that goes from about 155 to 165. So you can see here, if I back out on this chart, this 10-point range was actually right in this sideways consolidation area when we were really kind of we're moving down here from about January of 2022 until we kind of broke back out of this in April of 2023. So we really kind of chopped around this area for the most part for about a year and a half. And then we broke away and actually double tested this upper boundary here at 165. So this is on the way back down. We actually tested this twice, once here in October of 2023, and then again here in April of 2024. This marks the upside boundary of this, that 165 level. Frankly, I would not be shocked if we got to bounce anywhere in this area here. So as far as waiting out an Apple long, I like pain, so maybe I'd be wrong about this, but I'd be looking to maybe take a short regression back to the mean trade here on Apple in this area. The other thing to keep in mind about a potential Apple trade, this is definitely going to be one of the first targets of algos when headlines come out. So whether it's a trade war de-escalation or a trade war escalation, you can bet that the price of Apple is going to respond to those headlines. And we've seen it here. Algos can sometimes complicate the trading action or exacerbate some of the outsized moves. So we'll see here on Apple. This is the area that I kind of have for a bounce. Bernhard, if you're out there, let me know if you would try this or if you would trade this. Would you use options? Would you use stock? And perhaps most importantly, is this a short-term ad or a long-term ad for you? Okay. Let's see. What did I miss here? Anything? Nope. Okay. Don't see anything, any other stocks here. Maybe I missed one? I don't know. I don't think so. NVIDIA, Meta. Oh, First Solar. Ed, thank you. FSLR. We can absolutely take a look at that. Here is First Solar. You can see we actually had a trend line here that we broke away from pretty substantially. We are actually at a support level. If you go back here to January of 2021, November of 2021, it's a little bit janky here, but it's kind of a double top. This level here, I would call this maybe 115-ish, maybe plus or minus 2 points there. So 113 to 117 seems to be a pretty decent support level. I'm not sure how I feel about solar. I talked about kind of liking these. It seemed that the intent was to try and lower interest rates, although that's not really going all that well at the moment. However, if we do start to get some headway on lower interest rates, like if we hear from Powell or we hear some shakiness from Powell, some of these solar plays might actually be pretty decent. So, but again, I can't sit here and tell you that I have any confidence buying some of these names on a day like today. Maybe for a trade, but I think that there's some other things affecting this. And again, it's certainly not without its fair share of uncertainty, and that's going to make it hard. That's going to make it hard here. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Tesla. Did I not? Yeah. How did I not even think about? I mean, Tesla seems like an obvious one. So, okay, here we go. Here is your Tesla daily chart. We're down here, 219.17. Let me zoom in here. We'll kill the Fibonacci drawing for the time being. Right here at support. This is exactly where we bounced from the last time. Gotta say, I definitely think traders are going to be watching this level here today. So Tesla here in the pre-market actually looking pretty weak, looking like this wants to kind of test lower from here. Here's a really clean view of this. 215. This is going to be your spot right here. 215. I think if this breaks, you could see some accelerated trading to the downside. Will Tesla bounce? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, could it? Sure. Will it? That's yet to be seen. 215 definitely seems to be one of the spots here. So if you're trading this short term, day trading this or anything, I definitely watch that 215 level. See if we get any type of strength here. If we do, maybe some of these upside reversal levels would come into play. First one here, maybe 235 and then maybe 250. on that. Bernhard, you are out there. Good morning, Bernhard. Apple long-term, if I could pick it up around 155, 160. Okay, so that would be a long-term ad for you. Like I said, and just looking at the chart there, it looks pretty good. But again, with all of the uncertainty out there, who really knows, right? Who really knows? Okay. Let's see. DDD Kevin. Good morning, Kevin. Great to see you. Chris, good morning. Quantum A1 Drew. Good morning. Rafat, you also asked for Netflix. Okay, there was plenty out there. Let's take a look here at Netflix. We'll just go ahead and start with this one. Start with the daily chart here. Netflix also a target by a lot of traders because maybe not as affected here by the tariffs. Netflix still down 2% here today, but holding steady above its 200-day. Overall weakness here, I do think this could actually sink Netflix to that 810 level. I'll be honest, though, I think without some really huge headline, I think that this 500-day on Netflix might be out of reach on this pullback. We'll see. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it. We'll knock on wood for any of that. But next, I'd really be looking at 810 here. We're currently at 852.64, so we're really only 40 plus points away from this 200-day. The last time that we got even close to this, Netflix bounced pretty good. We'll see if we can do that again. If it does bounce here, I would imagine that if we don't clear out any of the tops of these candles, you could probably set up for another move back towards the lows, or maybe even kind of a short-term trade down on that. We'll see here on Netflix. Really, the level that I'm looking at here is going to be the 200. I'd like to see a lot of these asset prices come in a little bit. Okay. I'm in, Bobby. I'm in cash and I'm still down. LOL. Wild. Okay. Charles asking, Delta earnings out yet? Yes, I believe they were. Ed Bastian was on CNBC with Phil LeBeau earlier. Let me go ahead and give that to you here. Delta reported a beat on the top and the bottom line. 46 cent EPS beat the 36-cent estimate. 38-cent estimate, excuse me. Sales of $14.04 billion beat the $13.02 billion. The big news here for Delta, though, this Delta Airlines not reiterating its 2025 outlook due to ongoing uncertainty and will provide an update later as visibility improves. So despite the beat on the top and the bottom line, I think this is all about the guide like it has been. We've talked about this on a lot of different stocks. If you don't guide or if you pull guidance, that is normally not good. Now, Delta holding here about flat at about 35.85. But if you think that the consumer is weakening, not traveling, not spending money, airlines don't seem like the best place to put your money at the moment. So we'll see. There on Delta. Was there anything else here? Any upgrades that I might have missed? No. And you know what? Let me actually take a very quick look at the morning update here. Let me refresh it, make sure I have all of the newer data. Okay. No IPOs. All right. That was one of the things that I wanted to go to here. No IPOs. Couple of company events here, though. AMPS stockholder meeting, Jones Healthcare and Technology Summit. Some of the healthcare names are going to be in there. And the Micro Invitational Conference. I'm not even sure what that is. Those are going to be some company events there. Let's see if there's anything else in here that was worth going over. We did get an initiation on Constellation Energy. That's from Citigroup with a $232 price target. That thing has been severely whacked from its highs. Was that it? Here's your upgrades and downgrades. Delta earnings, we just talked about that. I think that's probably it. J&J, another upgrade here. This got a buy from Goldman Sachs. Apple got a hold from Jefferies with a 167 price target. Boy, almost like their price targets pretty close to what we were looking at. Starbucks got a hold from Jefferies, $76 price target. Bath and Body Works, overweight from Piper Sandler, $35 price target. And Siri getting a buy rating here, although that's down 0.75%. And then downgrades, didn't really see anything of note here. Okay, so that pretty much takes care of the morning report. Brought to you by Benzinga Pro. Let's go back to Pro here, and we can keep taking a look at some charts. Google is one that you want to take a look at. You can do that. Okay. More downside in MSTR. Where is Where's Jay Diamond when we need him? Let's take a look at both of those. We'll start here with Google. I'll take a look at GOOG. All right. So what we've really been talking about here in Google the past several sessions really is going to be this impending death cross. Well, we're getting that now. So death cross is here. We actually were rejected right at the 500-day moving average. The next immediate level to take a look at here is going to be this 143 level. That exact level here is actually, it's actually 142.66. That's going to be one of your recent downside levels here on Alphabet. If we zoom out here, you can see we probably find some footing in here, maybe 135 to 140 on Google. That might be the next level that I'd be looking at. A pretty substantial volume shelf there as well. Unsure if we're going to get all the way back down to this $100 level. I'll play it by ear here on Google. Okay, folks, I appreciate all of you being a little bit flexible with the changing schedule here and all of that. So again, we are going to have Tim Melvin in about 15 minutes, but why waste time? Let's go ahead and bring on 13 right now and check in with him. 13, the Empire struck back. 84% tariffs here from China. U.S. stock market futures here slipping from their pre-market highs. S&P down 1.6%. How you doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing just fine. Got a little bit of a slow start for the morning, but that's okay. It's just the morning. I'll pick things up.
You know what? You're allowed. I woke up this morning, thought it was Friday, realized it's only Wednesday. So I totally get it. These last few days have been crazy, and if you out there are feeling it, you are not alone. So don't worry about that either.
Such a George Carlin moment. I don't remember if you remember that stand-up where he goes instead of TGI, F, like thank God it's Friday. HSIOW. Holy, it's only Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay. No, I did not remember that, but it is quite fitting, and I'm unsurprised to have brilliance coming from the mind of George Carlin. That doesn't surprise me at all. Okay. We can do whatever you want here. I was basically just going over charts. I don't have anything groundbreaking here just because with all of the uncertainty, I'm not sure that I'm really looking to buy any of these. I guess that's not true. I do really like that Apple level for a long term. I do like PanW if that continues to come in, but a lot of uncertainty out there. What do you want to take a look at? You want to do movers first? You want to take a look at specific stocks first?
Well, I do understand that we have a pretty tightly packed schedule today. So why don't we just get some of these movers out of the way? And
good idea.
Tim comes on, talk with him, and then after he's finished, we can probably go back and see what other movers are doing, and we can go from there if you like.
Okay. Sounds good. First one here actually does have a news catalyst. It's going to be ticker VERO. This is Venus Concept. Stock closed just shy of $3 yesterday, and oh my goodness, printed 13 and change here in the pre-market. Stock is still up 272%. On the day here. We take a look. What is the news moving this around? Venus Concept secures bridge financing of up to $23.24 million from Maiden Health Partners with multiple drawdowns, including drawdown under the loan and security agreement of $2 million on April 4th, 2025 to support general working capital and ongoing operations. So it looks like a $23.24 million cash infusion here. Stock is trading up massively on this. Quick look around the horn here at all of this. 6.26% of the float shorted in 1 day to cover. That comes on a paltry average volume of just about 60K shares. The 100-day average here is 174. So the volume here has been declining as of late. Micro float stock, which is likely why we're seeing the huge outsized gains here, 536K. 13, what do you think?
So that 23 million in bridge financing, I think that's one of the reasons why it's moving. It's definitely the last headline that we got from yesterday. Earlier than that, there was also a little piece of news that they received a decision to grant European patent number. I'm not going to say the number, but it's for their medical device that they've been working on. So it's a dermatological device as far as I can tell. But that's another piece of news that was coming out. Also, earlier this month, they announced that they converted or they did a debt to equity exchange for $11 million. So it doesn't seem like they're going to need any further financing at this point with the exchange and the financing from the bridge financing from Madron Health. So it doesn't look like they have any need to raise capital at this point. Looking at the chart, Looks like we hit a high of 1331 in the pre-market, taking a staircase up here. Looks like we're starting to decline a little bit here. MACD is showing that we're kind of sinking. We might end up coming back down into the 65 EMA on the 5-minute before we find some more support. That's if we don't get support from 1050, which looks to be like the next support area we could hit before the 65 EMA. We need to get back above VWAP, but I think I'll just hold off on this one and see what it does out of the open.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty smart. We might even get a big pullback here. We did have several legs up here, 2 legs up in the pre-market, and obviously the impulse move from yesterday. So we'll see if Vero gives us any trading opportunities here today. Next, FMTO, Femto Technologies. This stock also printing 8 here in the pre-market. Don't have any fresh news on this one. Quick look around the horn, 0.5% of the float shorted on pretty much no volume, no days to cover there. Stock on average trades 1 million shares. Today it's traded 18 million shares. You got anything on this one? Ticker FMTO?
I didn't necessarily see anything that it was moving on. I didn't check to see if this was relative volume, although I do see a volume stick from yesterday that was higher than normal. So I would think that this might be relative volume that we're seeing here. One thing of interest that I noticed was that they had filed to sell 233 million common shares. They filed that back in March. I believe they also had a Form F they filed this month. They also reported their fiscal year results earlier this month too. But that the filing to sell an offering or to sell shares, that's the concerning part to me, because they do have 2.9 million shares in their float. The company does need cash, so we could see this offering come as soon as today. So I'd be very careful with this one. Also trading beneath, very similar looking chart to the last one we just looked at, but this one doesn't look like it's been taking the staircase up. It's looking like it's been trying to get over some very high peaks. But this one looking a little bit more bearish than the other ones. It's also beneath its VWAP, also coming down to its 65 EMA. Also, what I'm going to be waiting for to see what it does at the open.
Okay, good stuff there on FMTO, Femto Technologies. This is a new one for me. I don't think I've ever pulled this ticker up before. Next one on the list is FIO, PHIO, FIO Pharma, and this is moving as we speak here. Looks like we just popped above $2. We're trying to hold on to that. FIO Pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company announced its Safety Monitoring Committee recommended dose escalation in the phase 1B trial of PH762. So you're getting some news there about one of its phase 1B trials. See if there was anything else, any other color here. No, you probably have to go through the PR for that. Stock's up 97%, so a huge move here. 1.44% of the float shorted here. 1 day to cover. Average volume here, 6 million. Today we've traded just shy of 24 million. FIO looks like this is going to be on deck. You got anything on this one?
I think this wasn't really moving when I was looking at it, so I unfortunately don't. But let's take a look and see what I can gather here. It looks like we have a float of 4.7 million shares. Cash position doesn't look like they have a whole lot. 5.3 million, losing at about 1.6 per quarter. So that's I don't think that they're going to need to raise any right away. They will at some point, but I don't know what their plans are financially. This seems like they can go on for at least another quarter or two like this before they have to sell more shares or raise some or take out a loan or some kind of financing. But don't have a whole lot on this one. Let's look at the chart, see what I could.
Well, you know what we can do? Because we have such a great community, sometimes 13, we can lean on them. Market Sniper giving you some levels he likes here. FIO hit 255 January 28th and then 291 on January 16th. The highest in the past 3 months was 660 on January 13th. So that might have some levels there for you. Get in there, 13.
And yesterday, they also got a $4 price target and buy rating by H.C. Wainwright and Company. So that probably also helping lift it up higher. Maybe $4 is what we want to keep our eye on for this one. And we are at just under 225 right now.
Okay, good stuff there on FIO. We are holding higher here on FIO. Chris, how about Apple? Looks like Chris is like, you can take your news and stuff it. I'm going to trade what my instincts tell me here. Apple, nice move off the lows. Chris, it looks like you captured that here in the pre-market. Good start prior to the market even opening here. While we're looking at this, by the way, since we commented on it last. S&P futures here ticking up off of the lows, down 1.13% right now. So it looks like S&P futures trying to firm up here, trying to move back to the highs. We'll see if that rally gets sold, which is kind of what we've been seeing here recently. Okay, next stock that I have on the list is DXF, Eason Technology. Now, I got to think that at some point we traded this before, or at least we talked about it, because the ticker kind of rings a bell, but I can't place it. Had a huge pop here, retraced a lot of the move. I don't see any news on this thing, so it looks like it's just kind of a mover here. Hardly any float. It literally 727 shares are held short here. So negligible short interest, float of 23.78 million. DXF. Do you have anything on this one? Can you remember this one at all?
I don't know if we traded this one or not. I looked at my broker to see if I had any levels from prior time trading this. Didn't see any. I think the only thing that I could really draw on why this is moving is because it had more than usual volume yesterday, so it could just be a relative volume play. Looking at the prior days, you can see that you normally trades in the range of like anywhere as low as 6,000, 7,000 shares to as many as 50,000. But yesterday it was 274,000 shares it traded. So that little change in volume is probably why we're seeing some movement as well. Other than that, I don't really see a whole lot here that could be the reason for why this is moving without going through some of these PRs or these headlines they have here. Float to 23.7 million. Cash position, don't have any read on their income. Seems like they have about 300,000 in cash, so might need to raise some capital here with this one. Looks like they did secure some financing back in February from Renee Capital for the development of their blockchain intellectual property protection, and they also are going to. Apparently, they're looking to purchase 150,000 of Bitcoin. So don't know if that happened or not, but that's all I've really got on this one.
That's okay. Producer's cutting through all the noise here. DXF is a Chinese loan company.
Well, we might not see this one on the exchange in the future anyway. So.
I was going to say that probably should take a look elsewhere on that one. Okay. A couple more here that have some pretty substantial moves. This next one here is going to be Works. WORX. This is SC Works. This one I know we've traded this one off the scanner. This popped in the after hours yesterday, popped again here in the pre-market, but completely gave back its pre-market gains. Don't see any news on this one. Short interest here, 0.42%, 1 day to cover, and then a float here of 2.03 million. You got anything here? WORX. And actually, while you break that down, I'm going to step away real quick. I promise.
Okay. Same as before with the last one. This is looking like it's moving off relative volume. Yesterday, we had a big change in the normal volume or the trading volume. 4.4, almost 4.5 million shares traded yesterday. Prior days, not even breaking a million, not even breaking 500,000 in most cases. Some of these don't even reach 100,000 shares traded. So that millions of shares traded yesterday is the reason why I think this is moving up. Let's take a look around here and see what we got. 2 million shares in the float. And there's like one piece of news that comes out, it seems like every month. So don't have a whole lot of news otherwise. Financials, looks like they have 107,000, if this is an American company, dollars in the bank. Income, they're not quite profitable, but not really losing a whole lot either. Losing money to the tune of about $200,000 to $500,000 a quarter. Let's look at the technicals here, see what we got. I know we may have looked at this one before. The name does look familiar. So this one hit a high of 182 in the pre-market this morning. It's been trying to get back up there ever since, but it has rolled over and is moving down. Lost at 65 EMA, coming down to the 200 EMA as we approached some of the levels it was going sideways in the after hours yesterday before that session closed. So looking like it's going to be testing the 200 EMA pretty soon. May see a bounce there. Not sure if we're going to get that or not, but it is pretty low down beneath its view up right now. So I think at some point there may be an attempt to at least try to push back up to that, or at least narrow the gap between the VWAP and the price.
Okay. Really good stuff. The only other mover on here, MBOT and ICCT, I suspect that we're going to take a look at both of those when the market opens. But again, we're pressed for time here. So we're going to go, and 13, feel free to stick around.
Okay.
Feel free to stick around. I actually might need your help because we might give Tim Melvin a gut shot here. Let's see. Tim, good morning. Happy Wednesday. How you doing?
Well, I was doing good till I heard I was going to get gut shot this morning, but yeah, let's go ahead and hear it. What do we got?
I don't know if we are yet. I don't know if we.
Ryan's ready to fight.
No. Ryan's a lover, not a fighter. Ryan's not up for fighting here. At least not this early in the morning. Tim, how'd your Orioles do last night?
We lost.
Okay, Cubs won. That steak dinner is tasting better and better.
You know, it's like if this keeps up, I mean, another pitcher going on the injured reserve, I'm just going to send you a cow.
I'd rather shoot the shit with you over a beer, frankly. I can't store the cow. But okay, all back to seriousness here, Tim. We got I know you're surprised, but we got a bunch of headlines driving the market here today. China striking back 84% tariffs. You got any kind of like message for the group here? I know there's a lot of uncertainty out there, a lot of fear. You got any words of wisdom from your years of experience?
All right, you can do one of two things here, okay? You can buy into the headlines. You can get all wrapped up in this. You can get emotional. Emotion breeds stupidity, okay? And stupidity breeds massive losses. So let's avoid that particular impulse. Charlie Munger once said that the secret to getting rich is being sane when everybody else around you is insane. We're in a market right now that and it's very politically driven. It's all messaging. It has nothing to do with earnings. It's got nothing to do with anything but that magic word, tariffs. Any announcement by almost anybody involving tariffs can and will move this market on a dime. You got to be smart. Okay. You've got to have your list of stocks ready to go, things that you want to buy. And when you get big booms down, it looks like we're going to get a little boom this morning, down 600. I just saw the futures, I think.
We're actually paired some of those losses back here, down 483 here. S&P futures continuing to tick higher.
Okay. So maybe we'll pick up some points this morning. That'd be a welcome respite change for a lot of people. We're seeing signs of cracks in the credit market a little bit. And I see some folks are asking about different stocks that we've recommended. And we are seeing some cracks, but they're viable cracks. And I told you the story, Ryan, that about Joe Riley at Tweedy Brown, and it's a story worth repeating for anybody that wasn't on our call last night. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, everybody, of course, was just like on the fascinated. They're in front of the TV trying to figure out if the world's going to end or not. And that was true on Wall Street. True. So Tweedy Brown, the old value investing firm, everybody's in the office. They've got the black and white TV. They're just hunched over it, waiting for Cronkite to tell them if they're going to die by lunchtime or not. Howard Brown, the senior partner, goes out. Some errand, comes back. Everybody's still around the TV. Nobody's doing anything except one partner by the name of Joe Riley. And Joe Riley is in at his desk, and he's got a couple phones going, and he's just buying stocks like crazy. Now, Tweedy Brown was known for, they were a Ben Graham style firm. In fact, they started life as one of Ben Graham's brokers back when the firm was originally founded. So he's just buying all these illiquid, heavily discounted stocks. And Howard Brown looks at him and says, "What are you doing, Joe? I mean, it's nuclear war. This could be the end of the world." And Riley said something along the lines of, "That's exactly correct. It could be the end of the world. And if that's true, nobody's going to care about the performance of our stock picks, I promise. However, if this resolves, these stocks are going to make us an enormous amount of money." Now, that's kind of the approach you have to have in this kind of messy, ugly market. Now, the other thing that you need to keep in mind as you're doing this is that we started this with the market at a 30 multiple, with the market cap to GDP over 200%, with a CAPE ratio of over 35. So the market wasn't cheap. So the one caveat that I put on all of this, particularly when you're looking at some of the really large cap stocks, when you're tossed out the window of a 70-story building, passing the 35th floor is not a reason for celebration. Okay. So there could be more price weakness ahead of us. You need to keep that in mind. You need to really focus on a margin of safety, both in valuations and in the credit condition of the company. If you get those two things right, you should come out of this with an opportunity to make just an absolute enormous amount of money.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying stay the course and be calm, don't panic.
You can't. If you panic in here, you will make a mistake. This is
no question.
And it's look, I'm aware, right? I'm from back in the old school days when I distinctly recall in the old days the margin clerk had to actually track you down for a margin call when you were a broker. They would look for you and they would hand you a piece of paper. I once spent 3 days hiding in the men's room because we had a female margin clerk and she couldn't find me there. So I was waiting. I had a big spread on in bonds, and it was like eating my lunch. I hid in the bathroom, and eventually the spread reversed, and we got out with a small profit. But it was that's kind of the market that we're in. So just be calm, focus on margin of safety, pay a lot of attention to the credit conditions of the company that you're buying. Survivability is going to be a key in here.
Okay. Did you want to cover any of those stocks that you were asked about, or do you have some new goodies for us today?
Well, I mean, I've always got new goodies.
I was setting you up. I knew the answer to that before I even asked it, Tim.
Yeah, it's, we're coming down here to a place where we run just these simple value screens, right? And when the number of stocks on those screens starts to get really large, you're getting into closer to a market bottom. So you're starting to see some interesting stocks show up on here. And this is just credit-worthy stocks trading below tangible book value. And there's some businesses on here that you ordinarily would not think would get here. Apparently, we're all going barefoot because Foot Locker is now down 50% over the last 6 months. A lot of that has to do with where they're getting Nike shoes and all of that from.
Yep.
But these guys are in a pretty solid financial condition. The stock is now trading at less than half a book.
Which ticker? Sorry.
FL.
FL. Sorry. Yep.
Just Foot Locker. And of course, I've always felt like the entire management team at Foot Locker should be put in prison for making employees wear those ridiculous damn uniforms.
Who wants to look like a referee?
Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? Is there anybody more hated? I mean, maybe politicians, but right next to that is referees, which, is just...
I don't like my shopping officiated. I know that.
So, I mean, if you go back and you look at the last research report on this, Ryan, that I see is Evercore ISI, and, they're saying the stock could double from here. So, and then going back to January, Needham was on it. They have a 24, which is a better than double. This is a super cheap stock that is suffering from tariff issues. It's suffering because of the relationship with Vietnam, with China, and it's the relationship primarily with Nike, who's having all kinds of problems. But if the world doesn't end, this stock's probably going to go back up over 30.
And by the way, Tim, the last time that we were as oversold as we are right now, the stock did exactly what Evercore was saying there. It doubled. It was in a 15 handle. It ended up going to 35. Again, I know I'm selectively picking the RSI here, but the last time that we were this oversold, it did in fact double.
Yeah, no, and I hate to use really highly technical language, but there's a bunch of these stocks around. So the secret here is not to get crazy. What you want to do is buy a crap ton. That's the technical term of these, small, really cheap stocks that are trading at huge discounts to the net asset value. I mean, literally, guys, I could liquidate Foot Locker at a profit right now. Okay, just sell off all the shoes, pay somebody to take the referee uniforms, get some cash back on the leaseholds, and you'd walk out with a small gain on this thing. The stock is that cheap.
Okay.
Okay, now the next one up, and this is one of my, I love this stock. I mean, and it's just been going down, 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 making me look like a real moron. So it's going to be 4 or 5 years before I start to look smart on this one.
At
But
least you have your time horizon figured out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody will think I'm smart in about 5 years, except my wife, who will continue to know that I am a moron. However, Genco Shipping and Trading. This is their shipping business. Obviously, it's run by a
What was the ticker?
GNK.
GNK.
Really strong management team here. They've been buying a little bit of stock. They do bulk shipping. They do iron ore, coal, grain, steel products, other dry bulk, all of which, as you sure you know, are not real popular right now. They do some on long-term contracts, a lot in the spot market. So they're going to suffer a little bit, but they pay out the cash flow as a dividend. You got a 10% dividend on this thing. You're trading it about 6 times earnings, and you could absolutely scrap this thing at a profit right now.
Okay. Thinking about it likes it. I own GNK.
Yep. I'm a big fan of GNK. And then Ranger Energy, because
a dividend yield too I have for GNK.
Yes, nice dividend. And then Ranger Energy is another one that stop that machine. Do what I meant, not do what I told you to do. There we go. Ranger Energy Services has dropped from up over 18 down to 10. Look, these guys do service rigs, associated services. So, look, oil's 55 today. For most oil companies in the United States, 55 is actually a little bit below the cost of total production cost. It ain't going to stay there. That I can promise you. Eventually, OPEC is going to cut production, or U.S. companies are going to cut production, because this is not going to stand. Now, I will tell you, I'm down in South Texas. We drove through the Houston area, through Beaumont. They're not shutting down at the moment, right? Everybody's working down here. The Cheniere LNG plant, the lot was full. Those folks are working. The U.S. oil and gas industry is our hidden gem, right? It's what actually protects us from a lot of what goes on in the global energy markets. I think the price firms up from here. This company will eventually recover, and when it does, the stock goes back to 18 and maybe even beyond. In the meantime, literally, this is another company sitting there. You could probably scrap this at a small profit in here.
Okay. What's interesting about that is before you got on here, Tim, I actually read a news story that was focusing on what could actually outperform in the tariff environment that we find ourselves in. It was John Murillo, chief dealing officer at a global fintech institution called Beta Broker. He mentioned Ford and GM, but he also mentioned the oil angle that you were just talking about. ExxonMobil and Chevron were his two best picks there. He said he is expected to fight with big oil companies worldwide in every possible way, and this is very positive news for U.S. oil stocks, despite the current softness on oil prices. So looks like you're kind of thinking something similar.
Yeah, I really am. I mean, if we can't let the U.S. oil industry go down, the oil and natural gas is too important to our future. Mm-hmm. If it continues to fall, you will see production shut in. That will drive the price back up. The executives went through this garbage back in 2015, 2016. They won't take the ride to zero a second time.
Okay.
How do you feel, Tim? How do you feel about this? Sorry if I'm derailing your thought here.
You're
not at all. Never.
We just had Trump sign a new energy, I believe, executive order for coal. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, look, we use a lot of coal. First off, you need to understand that you can sign all the executive orders you want. That does not mean the coal executives or the oil and gas executives are going to do what you want. However, the truth of the matter is we burn a ton of coal, both met and thermal coal, for production of steel, for industrial uses, and over 20% of our power still comes from coal-fired plants. So we're kind of bullish on coal stocks. I'm a little concerned that the Peabody Energy Australian merger deal is going to blow up because I love the deal and I love the Asian coal market. So I'm hoping this thing holds together in here. But I'm actually a fan of Peabody Coal, especially at this price. Now it's 27% off the lows and still down for the month. So, but it's one of the largest U.S. coal companies by market cap and certainly by production.
What was the ticker, Tim? I pulled up BTU.
That is exactly correct.
That's
BTU.
it. Okay.
Yeah. So we're real bullish on that. A good friend of mine, Matt Warder, who is probably the best coal analyst in the planet, is bullish across the board on the sector. The companies that export and the Australian coal companies, you've got to kind of look at those a little bit because China and India they continue building coal plants. They are where the United States was, say, 50 years ago. They're going to burn whatever fuels their economy, and they'll sign whatever stupid agreement the rest of the world says, oh, you got to sign this and make this green pledge, and they just kind of giggle and sign and go order some new coal plants. So that's, coal is going to remain in demand. Whether Trump signs an order or doesn't sign an order, I think the coal workers felt pretty good about the fact that he did take some steps to protect those jobs because in some areas of the country, they're very important. So coal remains a big part of our energy future, whether we like it or not.
Just to be clear about the executive orders, I think it was more directed at keeping power plants that were slated to be retired open longer. I think that's what the executive orders were about. So
I don't. Yeah. That's a step across the line. That's going to be in court for a long time.
Okay.
There is, except in wartime, no presidential power that would allow him to say you can't. You have to keep your production here. That you have to burn.
Well,
coal,
it's I think it's because it was a Biden era policy to shutter more coal plants, and I think this was reversing.
Well, if all he was doing was reversing the Biden order, because I have not read it yet clearly, that's probably a good thing because Biden overstepped, as we know, way too far in the other direction. I mean, you had a president who had a stated goal of shutting down the entire fossil fuel industry, and that was just one of the dumbest things anybody could have ever said. But then he soon followed that with a bunch more dumb stuff, so he caught up. But and then the other thing that you got to be looking in, and we talked about this last night, you got to be looking at buying dividends in here, right? When you get into a real bad market, you want to be looking at the Philip Morris MO. You want to be looking at Energy Transfer. You want to be looking at Exxon. You want to be looking at Chevron because these things have fallen now and they've got really high yields. And again, barring some epic global collapse, the stock price can go down. The dividends aren't going down at this point in time. Over long periods of time, they'll tend to get raised. The stock price should recover and go back up, but you've locked in this yield. So like if you bought Philip Morris at a 10% yield back in 2020, a new buyer's not getting 10%. You're getting like 15 now, yield on cost. So this is a great time to lock in dividends. And, Energy Transfer, Key Corp, the Midwestern Regional Bank is at a 6.56. Truist, TFC. I mean, this is a dividend machine, guys. It's the old Nations Bank, and they did a deal and just changed the name to the stupidest bank name in history. But you've got about a 6% dividend yield on Truist right now, 5.99. And they've just got a tremendous legacy of continual dividend growth, of doing buybacks, of being very shareholder friendly. It's a fantastic, well-run bank that's going to be here almost no matter what happens. And the other one that I love, these guys, they cut their ties with Amazon. They told Amazon to go pound sand, and UPS has paid a price for that. The stock's gone from almost $150 down to $91. But again, actually a $7% yield now. They just raised the dividend by a couple pennies. Great history of raising the dividend. Very shareholder friendly management. Excess cash flow is going to go to paying down debt, buying back stock, and raising this dividend. they've done the things that they need to do to prosper and succeed going forward without being squeezed big time by Amazon. They've expanded their ground portfolio, and that's going to directly compete with the post office, which should be really easy because it's not like the post office is super genius at what they do. So UPS is just another one where I think that you've got to start looking at buying up some of these great dividends.
UPS at a really attractive level here. This goes all the way back to, I mean,
Yeah.
13, you've been talking about this. This goes all the way back to 2014 here for UPS.
Yeah, you're getting to a point now. I mean, you can buy some of America's greatest companies with 5% and 6% dividends, and you got to start thinking about doing that. I can't guarantee you that they're not going to go down, but I can guarantee you that in 5 years you're probably going to be pretty happy. Now,
it's always tough to convince people to take a long-term approach when you're seeing a lot of short-term fast moves to the downside. That seems to be the tough thing to reconcile.
Well, it is, but it's the Joe Riley thing. It's Shelby Cullum Davis. We talked about him. Shelby knew a lot about property and casualty insurance. So his wife inherited like $47,000 in 1947. Yes, there's some symmetry there, I'm aware. He invested in cheap insurance companies, and he just held them kind of forever. And every time there was a bad market, he'd use margin and he would just buy more. Anyway, long story short, when he died in 1994, that $47,000 with no additions, by the way, was worth, drum roll, $900 million. Now, he said in an interview shortly before he died, he said, we did really well. We had a discipline. We stuck to it. And I made most of my money in really bad markets, although I did not know it at the time. So if you can keep your head in bad markets and know and understand that this is the time to begin to take that longer term view, staying sane when everybody else is going insane, you can position yourself to make an enormous amount of money. Now, let's go back to something because I'm sure everybody got the memo. New York, it looked like New York was going to recover, but Kurt Russell was seen putting his eye patch on and heading back to New York City. So apparently it's all going to be plowed under again, and we're going to turn New York into one giant ICE detention center. Except we're really not. Manhattan office space, which I'm super bullish on, and I know you're not supposed to be, but I like office space here. We're going to look at this from the preferred stock angle. Vornado is a REIT that owns Class A office buildings across New York City. So is SL Green. Now, I know that the headline says Manhattan's terrible and nobody's going back to work. Newsflash. Manhattan's office market just had its best quarter since 2018. Leasing activity was up 20% over a year ago. The availability rate went from almost 20% down to just about 17%. Most of the activity, 60% of the leasing activity, was in the trophy office space. That's what SL Green and Vornado Realty own. Now, the problem that we're going to see here in Class A office spaces right now, there's many things on earth that you could get easier than permit and financing to buy a new office building in New York City or anywhere else in the United States. I think that you could build a nuclear waste dump in some parts of the country much easier with less regulatory pressure than you could build a new office building. But Class A office space is in demand because when you've got a market like exists today, pricing flattens out and everybody's giving incentives to move in. So if you're in a Class B building, it's a nice building, it's okay, but it's not in the best part of the city with the best amenities. And for not any money, really, you can upgrade to the Class A. You're upgrading to the Class A every single time. And we're seeing that. We're going to have a shortage of Class A office space in gateway cities like New York, like Boston, probably in 5 or 6 years, which, of course, if you've got a shortage of something, the price of it goes up. So looking at the preferred stocks, and yes, we do like the common as well, but the preferred stocks, Vornado Preferred is currently at $13 a share on a $25 par, yielding 8.6%. any good news. Now this it's got a low coupon of like 4 and change, so it's not going back to 25 unless we really do get into a recession that borders a depression. So, but any good news, interest rate cuts by the Fed, announcements of improvements in the New York office space, a resolution to the tariff war that helps the market recover. This thing pops in price on top of the dividend. Same with the SL Greens yielding 7.53%, trading at 21 and change. It's got a little higher initial coupon. Same thing. Any good news. All the bad news is priced into it. The Kurt Russell, the end of the world, the plowing under the office buildings is pretty much priced into these preferred stocks. The credit conditions are good. These guys have almost 90% occupancy rates. So you've got a really strong situation here. Great credit, fantastic pricing, lots of upside, and very high cash flow.
And just to confirm there, that's VNOPO, correct?
Yes, VNO, the preferred O is absolutely my favorite at the moment. Another one that we like a lot. I said I'm down here in Texas. My wife is from Texas, and I am a huge fan of Texas. Texas is the most aggressively pro-business place on the planet. You always feel like when you're in the Houston area, if you don't find to do some business that day, the police are going to come by, taser you, and cart you off to jail. It's that kind of aggressive pro-business atmosphere. So looking at Texas Capital Bank shares, TCBIO, the preferred has now pulled back to $18.64. Again, on a $25 par. It's a 5.75 fixed rate preferred. So it could, just on interest rates, get back up closer to the 25 if the Fed does make a couple cuts over the next couple of years. But this bank isn't going anywhere. Plenty of capital, great loan portfolio. Like I said, in very aggressively positive pro-business, low-tax state. So again, we come at this credit first, right? Can it survive and can it pay me? If we can get yeses to those questions, we're good. We are doing a lot more work, guys, on the preferred stocks because we do think that we may get more weakness in credit that gives us an opportunity to just keep buying this stuff at much lower prices. We're looking at some of the energy preferreds. We get a sense that, and some energy bonds too, when we get a better sense of where energy prices might stop and where the panic might stop, then we'll be real aggressive on that. So watch high yield. This is my final piece of advice. Watch high yield credit spreads. They closed yesterday at 4.6%. It's the first time in a very long time that we've gone over the 10-year median and the 10-year average. So we've gone from nobody cares about anything. There is no risk. Risk is non-existent. It was plowed under with the New York City office buildings, but to a point where risk is starting to move top of mind. Now, when you get high yield credit spreads back out over 6, okay, then you're starting to get really interested in preferred stocks in the top level of high yield credit and in stocks, particularly value stocks. And yeah, Starwood, we think the dividend is real safe with Starwood. I'm not going to go into the whole long explanation of why. Barry Sternlicht and his team are really good. They have very little office exposure. They have a bunch of medical office buildings. They're very diversified. We're not sweating the dividend and consider Starwood to be a huge buying opportunity right now.
Oh, that's good to hear because I actually added to that 2 days ago. Okay, great. Tim, really good stuff. I know we're pressed for time here. I appreciate you being flexible. The crowd doesn't like it when they miss you on a week. So I'm glad we were able to fit this in. Really good stuff here, Tim. We're going to check back with you next week. All right. One more thing I'll say before we get Tim out of here. If you want more of his analysis, stock picks, and what do we call them, rumblings, definitely check out Benzinga Edge. Tons of content there. You had a great article there yesterday, Tim. QR code in the top of the screen here. Tim, have a good one. All right.
Have a good day, everybody. Good luck. Stay sane. Stay calm.
I love it. That's exactly what we've been preaching. That is Tim Melvin, folks. He never disappoints. Never disappoints. Okay, we've got just a couple of minutes till the open here.
So that offering with FMTO that I was talking about earlier, the 223 or 233 million shares. So they Had a couple more forms come out after we had talked about that, and now it's cratering. So it looks like this offering is happening.
Okay. All I have here are a couple of forums, but man, oh man, this stock is down 92%.
Yeah, and they both are related to the offering that was mentioned earlier when they were filing or talking about that in March. They filed to sell it in March, and looks like they're going to be executing it.
Okay, there you go.
So we can cross that one off the list to trade today.
And at least
for now,
we said, let's wait out this opening print.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I got to go to the washroom again. 30 seconds till we open. We'll watch that opening print here. We'll see what's going on. Then I'll step away again. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a huge day here. S&P futures are still ticking up off the bottom. We were down 1.6% earlier. We're down 0.6 now. So S&P futures seem to be firming up. We'll see what the opening print brings us. 10 seconds, folks.
European Commission also voted to produce countermeasures against tariffs that go into effect on April 15th, it looks like.
Okay.
And there we go.
Here we go.
All right, Vero. This one was getting some support a little bit from the 65 EMA, currently out there right now and falling through it. PHIO, this one looks like it's trying to push up here. Just come open, and it's right at its VWAP. So it looks like this one's trying to get over 230. There's a good amount of sellers at 225 and 230. It looks like it's trying to get above those. DXF, this coming off its 200 EMA on the 5-minute. WORX went beneath its 200 EMA, trying to recapture, not above it yet.
Vero is trying to go here back to the pre-market consolidation area. Watch that 12 level if it keeps ticking up. There we go on Vero. Volume actually looking pretty good here. Not trading any of these movers here, at least not right out of the gate. I'm waiting.
Yeah, Vero, and also looks like PHIO is trying to get going here as well. When trying to move up towards the 250s. And looks like Works is trying to turn positive here.
Get the unusual options flow rolling here. Tesla here up 2.5%. This actually looks like this is trying for 230 here on Tesla. Volume looks good. Flow looks good.
Martin, we'll add more UPS. Just
sounded like that. UPS was a Tim pick there too.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
He said I didn't catch that. Here we go with Vero. Yeah, UPS, because their dividend is just it's substantial right now. It's over 7%.
There's the 12 pop on Vero that we were looking for.
Nice.
By the way, TLT here straight up from 85 and change. We're actually above 87 now. So TLT catching a bid. Market continuing to try to tick up here. Breath flipped green on the SPY, Dow, and the Qs. We're still red on small caps and the NICE.
PJ Trader mentioning BBAI.
Apple at the highs. PanW at the highs. Tesla continuing to tick up. Amazon near the highs. Bitcoin ticking up as well.
BBAI, this moving right now, just got over a resistance area at 280. Was trying to do that this morning, got rejected, went lower, had a big recovery in the pre-market. Now it's continuing into the regular session. Don't have a level until about $3, so we'll see if it can get up there. But BBAI, wild action out of the open here.
Rustom's Neo popping off of yesterday's low, which was also the pre-market low, which was also the $3 even here. I actually am seeing some $3 calls get bought. These are calls that expire next week, so that's the monthly contract there. Just about 1,000 of them. Looks like just kind of a short-term bet here on Neo, this popping out of the open.
After having a not so great day yesterday.
Nope.
That's a nice rebound.
DXF is halted here. This to the upside. That's the Chinese loan firm.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yep. ICCT is halted. Halted to the upside. Actually, that's trying to break out here from 4.
Wow, that really did come in. Hey, we were talking about how 7 was the number we were looking for. Since it popped up to 820. This is on Monday, Monday. it's been just kind of going down, and it has this morning pop and then continues to trade lower. So I don't know if we're gonna see a change in that right now. We're in that that pattern of popping it out of the open and then selling throughout the day. That's been the thing it's been doing lately. So after this movement here out of this halt, I'd say be careful. Fat pipe is halted.
Hey, Fat N.
Fat pipe halted to the downside. That was trading up. That got as high as 1410 in the pre-market.
Okay. Smoke Tuna mentioning MBOT. That is ripping here up near the pre-market highs. 13. I'm going to leave this on screen. Step away again. I'm sorry, my man. I'll be right back.
No worries. It looks like Vero is trying to get above its VWAP right now. It had an attempt earlier. Got as high as 1274. 1331 is the pre-market high. Wouldn't be surprising if we went past that at some point, but we need to hold above VWAP. Looks like we're getting going here now. I've got to take out 12. Let's see what else you're looking at. ICCT halted. Yes, it is. I think you already looked at that. So right now, Vero just waiting to see if this can push over 12 here. It's above its VWAP, which is encouraging. But here we go. Moving over 12. MBOT says Smoke Tuna. Let's take a look at MBOT while Vero does its thing. BOT. That popped up to 211 over its VWAP, and it came back in. Now it's having a hard time holding above its VWAP, actually coming back underneath its VWAP and looking for some support around 185. There's also some other EMAs to the downside that it could lean on if it continues to go lower. 65 EMA, though, is down at 152. So that's going to be quite a drop if it's going to find support down there. Let's go back to, where was that one? Vero. Let's see.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No worries. So we're just watching Vero to see if how hot, if it can go into how high it can go into 12. It's looking like it's doing pretty good, trying to push up to the 1331 pre-market high it made earlier.
Looking around here.
Jonathan Regazzo is saying Apple rally 180. Let's look at Apple real quick.
Apple rallied back, right back to where it was in the pre-market there at about 175. 180 would make for a pretty good move if you get that here today. Apple up 1.7% here, holding at 185.
Let's see what the daily chart's telling us. Yeah, that 174. I had that marked off as a frequent support turn resistance level, and 174. And I may have had you do this a while ago. Just kind of mark that level off and see how the price interacts with it. Frequently a support turn resistance level and vice versa. 180, I think, for Apple is the next resistance area we probably want to watch. But 185, not impossible either.
176 right here. By the way, results from the poll are in. Thank you all for voting. I appreciate it. The poll question was, who thinks today could be a 1987 style market crash? That came from Peter Schiff. That was one of his quotes, not ours. 44% of you said no. 32% of you said yes, and 22% of you said not sure. So appreciate the votes there. Looks like we have a slight bias to the no side, and we haven't gotten it yet, but the day is young. The day is young.
We also have PHIO. That one's now halted to the downside. Looking to see what that's halted on.
ICCT just opened, popped higher, 450, stopped it. It came in a little bit, but it's not breaking down yet. I'd still watch that 450 spot. Jim, looks like you're on that one. Smoke Tuna mentioning WORX here. That popped back to the VWAP, couldn't get above it. I'd watch that one, that area right there.
Yeah, PHIO, I don't see the reason for this halt down, but this was one that I believe was potentially going to be needing to do an offering. Let me double check my notes here. I don't have that one.
Apple still at the highs, Win at the highs. Tesla stopped ticking up, but not breaking down. Palo Alto still at the highs. Yeah,
I don't have the reason why FIO is halted down. It'll probably present itself in a bit here. BBAI got up to 284, and then it came right back in, down to a number of EMAs, the 200, almost the 65. Trying to get back above VWAP right now. ICCT, that's continuing to push up. 455 is the current high.
We got a headline here. Trump saying, quote, "This is a great time to buy," end quote. So that's happening out there. It's just in case you weren't having enough fun yet here today. S&P futures still ticking up here. Actually went green now on SPY and NASDAQ and Dow.
Looks like some of the space names are doing pretty good this morning. Not all of them, but a good number of them. How are these other, how are the quantum names doing?
Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. Shame on me. I didn't even look at those here today.
QBTS slightly up. Ion Q slightly, actually that's up 5%. I bet the drone and nuclear names are probably doing pretty well as well. You know, I read an interesting article this morning about how the Ukrainian military is able to now produce their own drones. What I mean by that is they don't need components. They're making their own components. They're not sourcing them. They're doing all this without any components sourced from China or Russia. I thought that was pretty significant. They turned this whole thing around in 2 years.
That is
2-3 years. And now they're on track to make 1 million of these this year.
Can you do me a favor when you get a chance? You don't have to do it right now, but at some point today, can you forward me that article so I can read that after work today? That'd be great.
I will do that.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Looks like Works is moving over its VWAP.
I've got the VWAP at 133. I've got it right there.
Yeah, I'm not sure about these upper shadows it's starting to put in, but if we can get this candle to move up significantly, let's say get up to about 150, that'd be pretty good. But a little bit worried about the wicks that it's producing up here. Well, Rocket Lab is just tripping right now. Let me see if there's any news on that.
We are still trading up here, by the way, post that Trump tweet about buying. Can't do much other than laugh at it. Here is Rocket Lab. This looks like the SPY chart, frankly.
Yeah, there's a little PR piece at 8 a.m. about them expanding satellite solutions with customizable solar arrays. And then they also had a Wells Fargo rating with a lowered price target to 18. We're over 18 now, so hey, they hit it. But this is moving up. It's looking not bad.
MBOT, this is really kind of pushing that $2 level. I'd actually watch that as an upside level here. VWAP at 183. It's trying to hold on to that. It's done a good job so far. Those are the levels of importance here, it looks like.
Smoke Tuna is mentioning American Rebels. We also
have AREB, right? AREB.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan saying with what feel I know you're just typing it here, so maybe I'm misreading this, but it feels like Ivan is saying with surprise, my stocks are turning green.
Yeah, DJT is ripping. Thank you, Clarence, for flagging that for us.
VIX actually printing under 50 now.
And STFU saying that wasn't it Tim Melvin that was mentioning Foot Locker? That's going pretty vertical right now. Let me see here.
That's interesting. Tim normally has long-term picks here, but yep, indeed, Foot Locker trading up.
Yep. Thank you for these mentions, guys. Oh, wow. Excellent, Anthony. This is in Vero with 2 days worth of profit.
Sorry, I was going through some stuff here. What was that?
Vero, that thing just had a rip up to 1450, and Anthony just gave us a compliment and told us that he just made 2 days worth of profit in Vero.
There you go, Anthony. Pat yourself on the back. We weren't pressing the buy and sell buttons for you, but glad we're able to identify one there. Yeah,
you absolutely killed it. 2 days. These past 2 days, look, consider what's happening in the past 2 days. Well done. So 1450 is the current high in Vero. FIO looks like it's trying to find a bottom, but not sure if we've found one yet. works. This is the one that had the upper shadows I was concerned about. Now it's starting to put in a red candle here, coming back down to where the opening price was.
Have some comments here. Thank you, producer, for this one. Comments here on Walmart. We talked about them not issuing guidance there. Walmart straight up out of the gate here too. On the point of guidance, Walmart CFO says for Q1, the uncertainty and the decline in consumer sentiment has led to little more sales volatility week to week and day to day. Q1 operating income has been harder to predict, and we have widened the internal range of scenarios given the current backdrop. Category mix has been less favorable than what is anticipated at the start of the quarter. General merchandise sales have been softer early in quarter, but have improved as the quarter has progressed. I would have guessed the opposite, but that's interesting. We will invest in price as tariffs come on incoming goods. So there you go. Comment there from the Walmart CFO post that piece of news about not issuing guidance. Walmart. This did go positive, up 3% here. Looks like SPY is finding some resistance right here at the $500 level.
You know, Tim, craziness, that's not a bad point. We just had China come out and say, well, here's an additional tariff. So I think it was like 80-something%. How many did you recall seeing that, Ryan? 87%, yeah. 84%.
84. Yeah.
So Trump's first response is not, well, now they're going to have another 84%. His response was, now's a good time to buy. I just thought that was interesting. It's not a retaliation against China. He's just saying, now's the time to buy. Okay.
We'll see if that proves to be right or not.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that he's that's the first thing he said after China's response.
Yeah, now I don't follow all of those tweets. That one was being recirculated, so maybe that's why I had that on my list here.
Oh, okay, so it's not new then.
Well, no, it's new from this morning. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I just don't know if it's the very last one. I don't follow each individual tweet.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
But yeah, it was definitely from the morning of April 9th. So
Wall Martians is a thing. Thank you, Wisdom. I did not know about that, but I think it's never going to leave my brain now.
Kava here. This actually popped out of the gate. I still think there's some more downside there on Kava. Svarcy Marcy asking about an ICCT resumption time. It was halted at what, 9:39? So it's probably a 10-minute halt. So it looks like 3 more minutes now, Svarcy.
So it looks like Kava just opened its first South Florida restaurant. That's news from yesterday. Did it move yesterday on that?
It moved down yesterday. It moved down with the reversal that we saw in the market.
Yeah, okay. DXF still halted as well. That's that China name.
Sorry, I was just looking around here. A lot going on. I feel like I do more head on a swivel reading in this environment than I ever have before. And at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I'm tired from all of that.
Why is that not coming up?
Pac B up at 135. This might be a potential breakout spot there. MBOT still didn't give up its VWAP. It's trying.
Joe Pato is saying second century. That's XXII. Some folks have called this my cousin. This one had a pop up to 564 in the pre-market, came back in. Now it's trying to get going again. It's beneath its VWAP, which I have at 225. Looking like it's trying to move its way up there right now. The question about where that Kava was open in South Florida. Let me get that location for you. I hope I don't mispronounce it, but I probably will. Hialeah, Hialeah. Is that how you pronounce it? That's where it's at.
Sounded pretty good to me.
VVPR halt on T1, says Smoke Tuna. That is halted after popping up to 381 and then coming back down quickly. Did I get it wrong, Quantum? The armpit of Miami. Oh, okay.
You said it right. The armpit of Miami. Oh, good stuff.
All right. So that's kind of like a lot of sideways action here.
You were asking about other tweets here. Here's another one for you. I'm not sure which one came first. Trump tweeting, this was this morning, right? Yeah. Trump tweeting, be cool. Everything is going to work out well. The USA will be bigger and better than ever before. Trump not lacking confidence amidst the market pullback here.
What does he know that we don't? FMTO, by the way, that's now just hanging around 10 cents. This thing is incredibly ugly. This looks like a Luckin coffee almost.
Yeah, it sure does.
Oh God, this is awful. This is beneath where it was, consolidating earlier. This is like 5 times lower than where it was normally. And that's 50 cents. Oh man.
So are we expecting that ICCT resumption here pretty soon?
Your guess is as good as mine. There must be something else going on here.
49, I think. Yeah, 49.58. So this should be opening here any moment.
Yeah, I don't know what's taking so long with this one. DXF is halted to the upside still.
Open. There we go. It opened right 10 minutes to the second. ICCT opened here down at 350.
That is a massive gap down.
335 now, and actually I think it's going to 332. Never mind. Tuna. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, nope, maybe there's that morning pop I was talking about. Now it's just going to spend the rest of the day leaking. So we'll see.
Tuna asking if we've got an island here on the daily. Let's check it out, Tuna. One thing I'll notice is that we did not pop into a new price area, right? The prices just kind of slowly leaked down here. This I would just kind of consider a gap, not necessarily an island. Just look to the left. Look at all of the price action there. This is just popping back into a range here. Pretty significant gap, but I wouldn't do the floating island trade on this setup.
The big resistance area that we've already run into with this one is the 200 EMA. That was support yesterday. It's resistance today. Beneath the price now, 590 seems to
DXF
be
resumed. Sorry for interrupting. Kathy was asking. This is open and moving higher. DXF. Sorry, 13.
All right, 590 is the next support level for NAOB. DXF. Let's see. Oh, it's got quite a spread on it, doesn't it? This is going to halt again. DXF.
1046. Let me bring that up here.
Yep, and now it's halted.
There you go. Halted to the upside. All right. So this is the Chinese loan firm, right?
Yes. And thank you, STFU. On the bright side, FMTO found a bottom. On the dark side, that bottom was 0. Right. I mean, it's technically 10% or 10 cents, but I get what you're saying.
Nice to see a stock find some support at 0.
Oh, man. Yeah, so I guess the shorts are going to cover, unless that's what. This is the daily chart I'm looking at. Yeah, so shorts might end up covering. So there's that positive, I guess.
Tom here asking, what are the odds of Palantir giving good forward guidance in May and not really being affected by all of this? With the defense angle, like I see where you're coming from here. I can't get behind. I mean, unless I knew something that I don't know, I just have a hard time thinking CEOs are going to be optimistic at all. Maybe I'm wrong on that on Palantir.
Do you want to draw a trend line?
I mean, I always want to draw a trend line.
Go to a daily for Palantir. Start at January 13th of this year, the low.
Right. I think I already got it.
Yep. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's the trend line that you want right there. We're trying to get above it right now. You can tell that this is a pretty strong trend line that's providing resistance after providing support for so far a good portion of the year so far. I think we don't see this get back above there unless it has some like news attached to it or the market sentiment changes. I think this is going to run in. This is the resistance area that it's going to run into before it turns back around and tests 70 again.
Yeah, Tom, I get where you're coming from on that question. I don't know if I have a good answer for you. I don't know what they're thinking. Is that a possibility? Yeah, maybe. They're used in the fight against China, so maybe. I don't have any degree of confidence on that.
Yeah, without some kind of news attached to the movement, I think this goes lower. And hey, Christoph, well done on your short day, and go have a nice rest of the long day. Just enjoy yourself, man. Well done on your gains this morning.
Steve here saying prediction markets getting out of control, can now bet if the Fed will cut 25 or more than 25 or no change. So that uncertainty seems to be spreading that out. S&P futures continuing to tick up to the highs here.
It seems like there's a lot of analysts that are very far apart on where the rates are going to go. We have, on one hand, folks looking for 4 cuts. We have, on the other hand, folks looking for rate raises now. Very far apart.
The one thing that's really interesting about this, 13, the one thing that's really interesting about this, we had, some of you might be familiar with Markets and Mayhem. Great Twitter follow him if you don't. He participates in our happy hour on a regular basis. And he gave us a chart yesterday of pivot levels for the SPY futures. And he had a humongous pivot level that he said was extremely important at 48.50.75. And, I'm looking at the ES chart here. We didn't quite get down there, 48.50. We didn't quite get down there, but boy, oh boy, it sure looks like we're moving up off of that spot. He figures these out with a lot of different option contracts and all of that. Looks like that spot here is still holding. Again, that's 48.50.75 on the ES.
And that's kind of up near the 2022 high, isn't it?
I think so. I don't have that on this chart, but that sounds about right. Because we talked about those levels. We went through a bunch of those levels when we did that. I think you are right about that.
Sure. It looks like NEO not having too bad of a day. Popped up and is consolidating above the 200 EMA on the 5-minute, also above its VWAP. The issue it's got to deal with right now is this pre-market consolidation, where the price was kind of moving around at from about 4 in the morning to 7 when it's just really dropped. That must have been some kind of tariff announcement, I guess. But anyway, that's going to be that consolidation in the pre-market is going to be where the price has failed to break into. So the next time it goes up there, that's what you're going to want to see, is it to push into that consolidation. You can tell so far this morning it has been rejected there 2 or 3 times now. So if we're going to look at more upside, we got to get through that consolidation there in the pre-market.
Okay. Good stuff there. Glenn mentioning OKLO. What's that doing here this morning? That's up 6.6%. That rebounding here. That was one of the momentum names that was really moving. Yep. How are those quantum names doing?
That's what I'm talking about. These quantum names, the space names, the drone names are probably up, and the nuclear. The 4 momentum names from end of last year.
Yep.
Those should be having a move.
501 now on the SPY as this moved up and continues to move up here. There's nothing else that I missed, was there? Amazon seeks partners for $15 billion warehouse expansion plans.
AMZN.
No, the headline just reads Amazon seeks partners.
Master mentioning FIO asking for support and resistance levels. This is getting some movement here this morning. It's another one that we were looking at, but this had a drop out of the gate, and now it seems to be recovering. I would say that in the short term here, I'm looking at a 5-minute chart. Seems like that at 160 to 165 area is a bit of a demand zone. I'd have to look to the left and see if that lines up with any other price action, but we did have some movement in the after hours. In the pre-market here that got us up to about where those levels are, that 160, 165 area. And then we just ripped up to 274. Since we've come down, we found support at those areas where we broke out of. So those that 160 to 165 area, that's going to be support for now. Then of course, resistance is going to have 275 as the next resistance level. Let me look at a daily chart and see if I can find anything else for you.
Okay, so while you're doing that, Smoke Tuna says, Mullen, soon you can buy the stock for 0.00 for free. So I think Jay has some pretty big bids sitting up there at 0. We'll see if he ends up getting filled on that.
Yeah, for FIO, it does look like there's a pretty good amount of resistance at $3. If you just draw a line at $3 and you look to the left, going back to August of last year, we've got a lot of consolidation going into this year between August and December, and a lot of that consolidation is right at $3. So I think $3 is going to be a very strong resistance area. So hopefully that helps you out there, Messenger.
Kevin here saying large cap equities are doing well after the market opens. This is helping the futures rally indeed, and that rally is still going on. We still haven't taken out the high of that initial impulse candle, but we keep trying. I guess I would just say remain nimble here today in case these things turn around. This is exactly what we saw yesterday. I like to think we helped protect people.
It looks like Vero, after hitting 1450, putting a series of red candles, but this last one it's doing right now, this would have to be the one where it needs to find support, or else I think we're going down to the 200 EMA.
Yeah, Jay saying, no, Ryan, on Mullen. The best thing about being short a bankrupt, you never have to cover, and therefore no 1099. That's actually a pro tip there. Jay, you're actually in the realm of seriousness. I was joking. I wasn't even talking about your short position. I was talking about you actually going along at zero. It was a total joke. But that's actually really good. That's actually a really good little tip there. I've actually never shorted something down to zero. So I'm not aware of that, but that's good stuff there, Jay. Wisdom, take care of yourself. We wish you abundance and happiness and as much weed as you can handle.
Hey, Master, great stuff. Yeah, get that profit. If you're done for the day, well done. Stay green. Well done.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff here so far. Market seems to be cooperating. SPY still up 1.125% here. It is 10 o'clock, and I know we normally do this on a Monday. We couldn't this Monday, so we're going to do it now. Let's talk to Matt Maley and see what he thinks. Matt, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Let me first start off by saying we all really appreciate your flexibility here and being able to come back on a day that you're not normally scheduled. Really, really appreciate it from us and all of the viewers here. How are you doing?
Good. I mean, it's been a great, been a tough time for the markets, but it's been a great time in our chat room. We've, last week we had a couple of returns of over 1,000%. We made some, and we made some nice plays on yesterday's bounce and took profits in them early. We did hold on to a few of them. I can't say we took profit, but we made some real nice money, over 100%. And to be honest with you, this morning we are set up for this kind of bounce here. We had a kind of a strangle on in the chat room here, and so we're a little bit, because we added to our bullish bet when the market dipped at back to unchanged at about 9:45. We're a little bit more heavily weighted to the bullish side. I know this might sound crazy, but this is the type of thing that can happen on days like this when there's so much bad news out that you got to pull a bounce back rally.
Okay. Real good stuff. I also saw you. I mean, you have been absolutely killing it with some of those short-term trades. Hats off to you. Saw the EWJ trade the other day. That was just like a double overnight. I mean, just absolutely insane. Folks, I did throw a link there in the chat to Matt's chat room there. 7-day free trial attached to it. Please check it out. Matt, I keep telling people you're in fuego. You're just on fire right now. So good to see it.
Yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks. I mean, the market's down. We're way up several 100%. So if you give a call to Rodrigo, he can help you out. Yeah,
and so one of the things that we have been preaching here is that while you do need to stay calm, it really behooves you to stay, follow along, stay invested, stay active, pay attention to what's going on here, right. And you are proving that. Okay, so we got the big piece of news this morning is that we got retaliatory tariffs from China of 84%. Now, market here is ticking up. The breath across the board here is green. I think this is kind of throwing some people off sides. What do you make of this move here this morning? And perhaps more importantly, what do you think is next?
Well, I mean, the thing is, and you know how I've been quite cautious on the market, and I'm still cautious. I'm still worried that we will see lower lows as we move through the spring months. and or even maybe even through October. It won't. But the thing is that we've also talked about, it won't happen in a straight line.
Yep.
And this is kind of your classic. As you mentioned, we got the news today. We've had obviously news in the last week or so, but that we got confirmation today that we are in a trade war. I mean, what's China going to do? Are they going to ease up? No, they're retaliating. We are in a trade war. And so we have this sell the rumor of this trade war.
Mhm.
Are we getting to buy the news? The one thing that everybody's worried about is that we're going to see the same thing we saw yesterday, where the market rallied in the first hour and then rolled over and got clobbered. That could still happen. But the thing is, when you get this kind of news after a market has become very, very oversold only on a short-term basis, not wild, well, even on an intermediate-term basis, oversold, but not wildly so. Sentiment is very, very low. You'll see that the futures trader sentiment is down to about 10% bullishness. You see the fear and greed index dropped to 3% last night. So you have such bearish sentiment, an oversold market, and we saw examples of how the market got washed out late last week. Huge jump in volume, huge. We have a 35 to 1 negative breadth. That's in other words, decliners versus advancers. 35 to 1 decliners versus advancing stocks on Friday. So the internals were just the sign of a near-term washout. I don't think it's total capitulation. I think we got problems. I think the problems are much more than just a trade issue. So you have to be careful. But that's what short traders need to do. And we've said this a million times. During the best bull markets in the world, NVIDIA, 2 years, one of the best rallies in the history of the stock market, and yet it saw 5 declines of 20%. And the same thing can happen in the other direction if the market's selling off. I mean, the bear market of 2000 to 2003, the bear market of 2009 to 2007, 2009, all had 4 bounces in 20% on all 4 bounces in the great financial crisis. 50%, anywhere from 20 to 50% in the other one. So there can be bounces along the way, and this is kind of that setup. Now, I'm not pounding the table by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying, you got to load up the truck and buy positive bets here, buy calls in the S&P, whatever it might happen to be. We do own some bullish bets, but we have them hedged with some bearish ones. Be careful. But my point is that everybody's on the one side of the boat right now. Everybody's bearish. So no matter what the longer or even intermediate term fundamentals might be telling us, that doesn't preclude a bounce here.
And you know what else is very notable here to me? You're saying that, still cautious, still bearish overall, but really playing what the market is giving you. Saw you playing SPXS puts yesterday. Those, of course, are now trading up here today. Right. So again, just kind of going back to what you were saying there, being active, being tactical, and making some decisions here for the short term. So real good stuff there. One you had just mentioned the bear market there. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you, what do you think, what would be your best advice for traders as far as navigating a bear market? I know you're talking about some of the bounces there. Should people be positioning in individual stocks if they don't have a long-term time horizon? Do you advise more that people take a look at some of these ETFs for some back and forth plays? How do you think people should handle this?
Well, I mean, the hard thing right now, of course, is that the VIX is very high, and so therefore the options are very, very expensive. Yeah. So that does make it tough. The S&P triple ETF. We've done a lot in SQQQ. Those are more expensive than the SPXS. So we've been playing in that name the last 2 days a little bit more. I see the market's starting to come back in. This is the test. If this rolls back over, it could be a big, big disaster. That's why we have both negative bullish and bearish bets. But anyway, going back to your question, the individual stocks, especially in some of these tech stocks, they're still highly priced. So their options are highly priced. That makes it very difficult. So I do think some of the index options are a little bit better play. But again, we want to be creative. We want that EWJ. That was the Japanese, the Japan Nikkei index, where we bought options there. Again, take what the market gives you, and don't try to make things happen. Everybody thinks the market has to go lower here, and it doesn't. I mean, the market usually does what inflicts the most pain. Right now, because everybody's so negative, everybody's so short, the most pain would actually be a rally, and only on a short-term basis. But now on a longer-term basis for individual names, if you are looking at it, you might want to, again, you want to follow that kind of thing. Meta, some of these stocks are starting to get a little bit cheaper. They're not as cheap as they were in the bear market of 2022, but they're certainly getting cheaper. If you like those names, don't try to pick the falling knife. I mean, you got some cash. I mean, we were saying in January, people should raise cash.
Yep.
So you have a little extra cash. Don't put it all to work now. Buy a little, once or twice each month. Buy a little, let's say Meta. Buy a little here. Buy it 2 weeks from now. Buy it once or twice. And you do that for 6 months. And suddenly your average price is looking real good. No, it's not going to be the bottom. But you know what? Nobody's going to pick the exact bottom, right? And you're certainly not going to, if you do, you're not going to get, you're not going to load up the truck at that point. So that's the kind of thing you want to play for the longer term investments. Spread it out and dollar cost average, which is not good on usually, but when the market finally starts to come a little bit cheaper and sold off like it has, that could play a little bit better.
Okay, real quick here. Going to definitely give you these props here from the chat. The whole 9 yards says Matt's 4-4 trade, ticker HYG, April 17, 77.5 put. Selling price was 104, climbing towards 1,000% gain. Thank you, Matt. So it looks like you are continuing to help out here. Appreciate that. The whole 9 yards. 13, did you have anything for Matt here today?
No, I just really enjoyed his, what he's telling us here. And I watched his interview, I think it was a day or two ago with, it wasn't CNBC, was it? I think
Bloomberg,
it was
Bloomberg.
Yes. Really great about the bonds. Enjoyed that. Don't have any questions for you today, so appreciate your time here.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want to see me, I'll be on at least I'm scheduled to be on CNBC on Friday. Sometimes things, especially if the market's crashing, they might be, they'll listen to, they'll bring on the chairman of the SEC or something. But I'll be on CNBC at the 2:00 hour on Friday. Yeah, so that's what we're doing here. But I just, you got to stay nimble. We got to stay nimble.
Yep. Very good. Matt, if they don't bring you on, it's their loss. Okay. It's their loss. I'm sure they're going to have to come up with some 3D CGI red bear to really kind of drive the point home of the market in turmoil. Also, on a closing note here, Matt, I was very excited the last time you and I spoke because I had Duke and I thought I was going to be collecting all of this money. And here I am sitting with empty pockets. So I'm in the same area there. My bracket got busted right near the end.
Game away. My goodness. I couldn't believe that.
I couldn't believe it either. But you know what? It's fun. It's all in good fun.
Now we got the Masters, so we can get into those pools, right? Get into the
I've been saying, man, this week has been busy. I have felt like it is. I couldn't believe on Monday afternoon that it was only Monday. It felt like Friday. I'm ready for the Masters. Give me some Masters. I'll take it at this point.
Exactly.
All right, Matt, really good stuff. Again, we really thank you for adjusting your schedule so you can be here with us. Look forward to catching up with you on Monday. All right, have a good rest of your week.
Have a great week and rest of the week and weekend.
There we go. That is Matt Maley, folks. Again, he has been absolutely hammering it. Can't make you do things, but if you want some help and you want some short-term trading ideas, Matt's chat room is the way to go. We'll go ahead and throw that link here in the chat again. Really good stuff there from Matt. Okay, let's get back to what's moving here. So, I want to pick up on something that Matt was just saying there. He had the guy never misses. He's literally giving an interview while simultaneously looking at the SPY chart and recognizing that, hey, we're actually at a key point here. If we continue to sell off and break down, things might change. We've not done that yet here. So the SPY did pull off those highs, hasn't reversed yet. I'll be keeping an eye on this one here. What else is going on here, 13?
Oh, I was just looking around at some of these other movers. It looks like one of the names, FIO, is now halted back up to the upside after breaking VWAP. This thing kind of all over the place this morning between the 160s and the 230s. Excuse me. This, I think this was the one I was saying earlier, needs to get above the $3 area because there was that consolidation in there from August to December. So we'll see if we can get back up there. It's halted at 218. So there's a good amount of price to move through before it hits $3. But just going to maintain that $3 is the level that is probably going to provide the most resistance in PHIO.
Okay. Just kind of surveying the scene here real quick. Market is really stopping at that 500. We'll see if we have any strength to move above that. Get in there, 13. Sorry.
Second Century, which was
That's XXII.
Yeah, that one is Crow saying that one's done. This one, after having the pop up to 564 in the pre-market, has not been able to recapture its VWAP, and VWAP suppressing this down. So here we are back to the starting point, back to where about $1 where it was yesterday. So that's going to be you're going to probably have an interaction with the 200 EMA on the 5-minute pretty soon. Don't know if it's going to bounce there, but yeah, unless it gets above VWAP, I think this Crow's right. This is done.
All right, what a dirty move on that, popping up towards 6, all the way back down here at 125.
Dirty move, dirty habit.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's take a look around here. UPS seeing some, what is that, call activity in UPS down here?
Oh, baby. Oops.
Apple's kind of slowed down. Looking around here.
Yeah.
Is anyone trading the SPY? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
That's okay. Yeah, I was going to say, for a moment, it looked like UPS is starting to put in a TriStar doji bottom, but yesterday it needed to be a similar doji to Monday or to Fridays. We didn't get that. So here we are trading lower, but $90 seems to be the next support area. UPS. Site's just saying ICCT should open soon. Where's that? All right.
Hood calls getting bought. NVIDIA calls getting bought. That's back in our channel, or just barely trying to hang on to it. Intel calls getting bought. That was interesting. We talked about this 18-19 support area. Intel not giving that up yet.
How far out are those calls that are getting bought for these companies?
Intel calls. These are the May monthly contract. Hood calls, April monthly contract. So these are all short-term, 30 days or under. Actually, those May calls, I guess, technically are what, 36 days? So right about there. Care Solutions asking if there's anything super interesting here today. At the risk of... I don't think there is anything super interesting here today.
It's kind of more of the same.
Yeah, I would agree with you, 13. It does kind of feel like more of the same. Definitely feels like some more uncertainty. The big moves seem to be in a lot of these bigger stocks. I don't know if I would say that there's anything terribly interesting yet here.
FIO opened and it popped all the way up to the 274 pre-market high, and it's coming back in. Let's see if it can get some support around 235. That was a nice big pop out of the halt there.
Yep.
Yep. Care Solutions bought Intel calls as well. You know, I saw something interesting about Intel taking over some aspects of what we usually get out of China. So I'd have to double check that. But I go through a lot of news headlines every morning. So apologies, I can't pinpoint where I saw that from, but I recall that I did see something about that. Let's see if it's on the news feed here.
I'm looking for it here. I don't see it though. I don't know the headline that you're looking for. Let me know if you find it.
Oh, there was one headline about Intel about how it's looking like Intel might, if there's going to be a Nintendo Switch 3, it seems like Intel might be the winner for the contract to provide graphics chips. Weird, right? But that's one of the things I read this morning, is that they are leading the selection right now. And
would that help?
18A.
Would that help the price, do you think, of the Switch amidst all of this tariff stuff, if Intel were the one making the chips for it?
Well, this is the Switch 3. The Switch 2 has not come out. It's coming out in June. So we're talking
so we're talking
away.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Nintendo wants to have the Switch 2 be prominent for 8 years. So it could be a very long time before Intel.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. VIX reclaimed 50 here, 50.35 on your VIX print.
And there's FIO giving back everything it made since that unhalt.
Big time double top there on FIO.
Had to be quick on that one. That one's just,
yeah, no kidding.
And that didn't even hit the $3 level. Now I don't want to, try to stick to, it's not going to go any higher than 3. MACD is showing that it's trying to curl up right now. This could get going, but I still think that it's going to take a good amount of volume to get through $3.
Lynn mentioning AMD having a nice day. Indeed, it is. AMD announces advancing AI in 2025. In-person and live-streamed event happening on June 12th. The industry event will showcase the company's bold vision for AI, announce the next generation of AMD Instinct GPUs, and rock open software ecosystem progress, and reveals details on AI solutions for hyperscalers, enterprises, developers, startups, and more. That actually might be pretty interesting there. June 12th, ways away here, but you're getting that PR there from AMD. AMD up 5% here today.
Yeah, and Google apparently is tapping AMD for their for processors for their new Google Cloud C4D and H4D virtual machines.
A1 here saying in 8 years they'll be playing VR, not a Nintendo Switch. I've thought a lot about
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that. I've discussed that with some of my other friends that are into video games. I'm not too sure on that. It seems to be a coin flip whether or not the end user feels sick from playing in total VR. Apparently there's like some getting used to for it. I don't know. I'm not as much of a video gamer as I was in my earlier years, but I don't know if I would even put up with that, honestly. I think if I felt sick at all from a video game I'm trying to play, I'm probably not going to play it. Go outside and get some fresh air, go play golf or something like that. I'm curious to see how that VR stuff shakes out. Maybe it gets better with technology. Who knows?
I have a couple of Oculuses, and I still prefer the Switch.
Do you ever think where you get like sick or nauseous or an upset stomach at all?
No, I don't get nauseous.
Okay.
The only thing that I have an issue with is that after a while, it really messes with your eyes.
Yeah. Okay.
It just kind of makes them feel dry and itchy. But it's fun. It has a long road to go. I think that in order to get to where I think they want it to be. I won't say that it's not going to be able to compete with the Switch. I think it will be, but there's really like only one big manufacturer. I'm not going to count Apple. It's really Meta that's dropping these.
Yeah, Market Sniper here saying VR needs to get a little bit better, and it will. Sideshow here saying, yeah, that's not true. My sons loved their Switch and their VR. They're not giving up either. I don't know Sideshow's sons here, but if I know anything about Polish kids and they like their video games, it's not going to be easy to get them to give up any of that.
You're just joking, A1. Okay. Well, I still don't think that you're wrong. I think that it's just not going to be. It's not going to be a situation where one is more prominent than the other. They're going to be together. They're going to be both in demand.
Yeah. And I apologize. I wasn't intending that to be a call out, just more of a discussion point.
And one of the things that right now that VR has against it is the lack of content, the lack of games. The Switch, Nintendo's a very big company with lots of IP, and they've got licensing for bringing other IP from other companies over onto their platform. So there's a lot of games to choose from on a Switch, not so much the case on VR. Yeah. Also, at the same time, the community on VR isn't as big as some of these other communities. So look, maybe your horizon isn't bad at all, but it's just going to take some time for that VR community to get up to where these handhelds and desktop communities are.
Ryan here saying the Switch 2 will be one of the best-selling consoles of all time.
Yep, I agree with that. Look at what happened with the first Switch when it came out in 2017. Look at the Nintendo stock, what happened when it came out in 2017. The stock price has not been back there since.
India trade minister to CNN just now, in constant engagement with the U.S. We'll be working with them to take off additional tariffs in the days to come.
I'm sorry,
that is
which
India.
Oh, nice. That's probably be good for Apple.
That would, and that's a gut shot for China as well.
What if the Switch costs 50% more? So that's a good point, because they are talking about some pretty expensive games We're talking like $80 for games.
Yeah.
Digital, and
For digital, 90
for
for physical. That seems absurd. 13.
Guess they're getting ahead of the tariffs.
Even so, I mean, I would have a tough time.
Yeah,
I would have a tough time doing that.
Yeah, that's certainly the most frustrating aspect. About
Isn't there a charge for porting over some of your old library too?
I don't recall if there was or not. I thought it was it is something you could easily do because it's all through the Nintendo Switch accounts.
Okay, you would know better than I. I don't have a Switch, so I'm just trying. I too, like you, read a lot of news headlines. Sometimes it's tough to keep them straight. Okay, anyone got anything set up here for a trade? I know we kind of dove down a rabbit hole there, but let me know.
If you haven't seen the reveal yet, at least check that out. It has a lot of good info on what the features are going to be like and what games are going to be available at launch. But I do agree with Crocodile Dummy. It's going to need more games, and it will. Remember, it's not launching until June, so we might see some more announcements of games coming out.
Now, do you think that might help the NTDOY stock?
Well, to my point about when the last Switch was launched in 2017, you just have to look at the stock price and see what it's done since then. As far as my memory serves me, it has not gone back to the pre-launch prices. 2017, yeah, has not gone back to those pre-launch prices.
So it would be good then.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I think so. The stock has run up quite a bit, so it's not surprising that it's really pulling now, but it's going to make it more attractive.
AMD, MSTR, your two top leaders in tech, by the way. And as far as MSTR goes, I was just trying to take a look at that. Bitcoin here up 1.28%. MicroStrategy, or strategy as they call it, up 5+% here today. Ray has a setup, RAY. Maybe on a pot.
Kind of.
Smoked Tuna is always able to find stuff, even amidst a sea of just not great stuff. Ray here, maybe a pop above that 215.
Yeah, and now the one piece of caution that I have with this is just look at the MACD. We don't want to see this to cross to the downside here, because that implies that the momentum's swinging bearish. It is holding above VWAP, but I don't see any price action on this. This isn't halted either. Large wall of sellers at 211 and 210. So you might be right. I just don't know. We need to see more volume out of this thing, and the MACD I'd be cautious about. But it is above VWAP, so there is that. I don't know for sure with this one, but maybe. Let's look at some of these other ones here that we were talking about. NEO looks like that's coming down.
Kelly was asking here, CoreWeave, CRWV, that was one of the recent IPOs. We've actually talked about this one quite a bit. This thing really got hit yesterday with the market, or with the broader market, excuse me, but really held on to the 4250 support. And we actually retested that support here in the pre-market, didn't really break it. We're still holding above it on CoreWeave. I don't feel great about this one. This is definitely not one that I'm necessarily looking to buy right now, but chart wise, I mean, really kind of holding on to that spot.
On the 5-minute chart, it looks like the 200 EMA has been the primary suppressor of price action. So if the price can recapture the 200 EMA, you might see a lot better volume trading. That this thing might move up higher into the 40s, maybe even the 50s, but got to get over that 200 EMA. I think that's the big exponential moving average suppressor.
U.S. weighing bailout for farmers amidst the China retaliation. Seeing that headline come across here.
Like we didn't expect that. It's the same thing that happened last time.
I was going to say we kind of expected that. And SPY here still holding under that 500 SPY. I tell you what, Matt Maley, he shops SPY for 10 minutes, drops a whole bunch of knowledge and nuggets, and then also makes a crispy call in the middle of an interview. There's few things I can say. Few good things left that I can say. I feel like we've run through them all. Dude is just absolutely a machine. See if this can hold VWAP here.
Yeah, Edward, my son's one son in particular really loves VR. They do play Switch a lot more still too.
Do you play with them? Just out of curiosity. Is that a cool
Switch,
thing,
yeah.
or is that a cool thing, or is it not cool to play with dad anymore? Are they at that age?
Oh no, they're not. They'll totally play with me. They'll totally play video games, VR. I mean, we have only a few sets, but you know, if we can, we will. But
Yeah.
no, we play Switch a lot.
Sick.
Played Halo a bunch too. My oldest loves that.
Let me ask. I know we're going down a rabbit hole here, so if anyone has anything that you want to interrupt with or get on here, just let me know. For any of you that were old enough to remember GoldenEye, I'm sure. Okay, I know your facial expression said it all. You didn't even need to say anything. GoldenEye, arguably one of the best games of all time, in my opinion, for the N64. I saw a tweet the day before, about hey, let's just kind of forget about the tariffs and have a good old-fashioned N64 sleepover. And it was a picture of Pierce Brosnan from GoldenEye handing the N64 controller over. And I responded and I said, no odd job. And I was pleased to know that apparently this is a worldwide rule that most kids know. Odd job is not allowed. He gave an unfair advantage. Did you do that too?
Oh, he was totally an unfair advantage because he was really short to begin with, and then when you crouch down, he becomes even shorter. So he's a lot less. He's a smaller target to hit. And usually, when you're playing these games, you've got an idea of where the headshots are in the center mass is. Not with Odd Job because that's so low to the ground. So you're always getting screwed over by like, oh, he's going to be right around this corner, and you shoot and you miss. Odd Job was a pain in the ass to fight against.
Okay,
and he still is.
So I wasn't alone there. That looks pretty universal. Appreciate you. Even Mike says, even I played GoldenEye. Thinking about it, let me tell you, that invincible option, I can't tell you how many times I ran that stupid map trying to get Dr. Doak in the right spot so that I could unlock the invincibility. Okay, we're getting too far down the weeds here. Britt, appreciate you trying to bring us try to get this train back on the tracks. Appreciate you, Britt. What do y'all think about the new ETFs, ABIG and ALIL? I'm not even familiar with these. What are these? ABIG is EA. What is this? Large cap ETF, Argent large cap ETF. Not sure what this does. Let me see if I can read about it. We don't have any data here. Let me see if I can read about these. The other one that you had mentioned, Britt, ALIL. And this is the small cap one. These are brand new ETFs. Britt, this is a new issue for me. I have no idea what these are. Is anyone out there know about these? Can we help Britt out?
This is Argent Capital Management's two new ETFs. Here, I'll just give you a link here in the chat. That kind of covers what this is. So hopefully that helps there. But this is, let's see, these are two new funds actively managed, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, there's a lot of to read through here. So maybe just click and read that yourself so you see what these two funds are, because these are new. We probably don't have a lot of info on them. But this should answer some questions about what this is and who it's from.
Sorry, Britt. Good job stumping us. Good job stumping us.
But as the description implies, I mean, the first one's a large cap ETF, and let me see what this. What did the other one say that it was?
Small cap ETF.
There you go.
So large and small cap.
Their version of SPY and IWM, basically. Millennial nerds, yeah, exactly. Jay, I played Pong too. I come from the Atari generation, so there's a lot of very low pixel rate games down there. big old squares I used to play with.
Delta post earnings here, new highs. How's the broader market doing here? Looks like SPY's trying to tick back up towards those news highs. Well, I'll be damned. SPY recapturing 500 here. I've got the high print there at what, 503.70. We'll see if we can get above that.
Market Sniper, I haven't had any issues with level, but one thing that I've discovered talking to people yesterday after this most recent Windows update is that they were having issues with various programs in the machine. Or a couple of people were having to reinstall Logitech drivers as a result. So if you recently updated your Windows 11, if that's what you're using, you may be having some Windows 11 issues with Webull, possibly. This is just, what I've assessed from people I've talked to.
Yeah, you know what? I do all of those Windows updates, and I haven't noticed anything on my end. I do have Thinkorswim. Let me see here. Windows update, right? You can just check for updates. Let's see where I'm at with the update schedule here.
I think they just
updates available to install. Damn.
Yep. That's the one.
So the .NET framework then is okay. Well, I'm not going to do this now because if I screw something up now, I'm going to give myself a conniptions. We're not going to do that. Okay.
Nope. We're not going to do tech support here. No way.
Nope. Oh, dude, I know you're asking 13, but there's no way I'm going to let a Seinfeld comment go by without commenting on it. Yeah, Ivor, that's actually one of the best episodes. The machine, the day George set that record, had the perfect amount of grease and mozzarella.
I haven't watched enough Seinfeld to remember that episode, unfortunately. Looks like market's making some moves here. I see a bunch of things pushing up. ICCT pushing up. A lot of things across the. Hold on a second. Let me look at the broader market here. Yeah, we're all kind of moving up here.
SPY still going for those highs. We'll see.
We just had crude inventories. Don't forget, tomorrow we have CPI. That could be one of the earliest indications of inflation is coming down. That could be a really good sign for Trump if it does show that inflation is coming down. And I will say that I think we saw oil and gasoline and other fuels tick up in March. We might see an increase there, but I don't know about the other sectors. No problem, Market Sniper.
STFU saying Foot Locker made me a couple of thousand there. Good deal. Be sure to tell Tim when he comes back. He'll love to hear that.
Do I know the name Nolan Bushnell? Doesn't ring a bell, but it sounds familiar. Do you know who that is, Ryan?
All I heard from that was Bushnell, and I immediately thought about binoculars. I don't think I'm right.
Electrical engineer. He established Atari. Okay.
Apple Put's getting bought into this move higher here. These are puts that expire this week, so that is a very, very short term, maybe even a contrarian trade there. Jay saying he is concerned about the CPI print. The estimates are 1/10. Jay's not sure why they're that low.
It could be. That's forecasts from analysts. There may be some analysts that just don't like Trump. There's always that possibility. Now,
AGL, whoever's bringing this, smoked tuna.
Yeah, STFU. I looked him up. Thank you for that. He did change my life. Just as a number of. Let me get some names together. You're gonna love this. Give me a second. One of the names that I think is one of the most important names in just gaming and computing in general has got to be John Carmack.
Yeah, and those I tell you what, those interviews, you got me on watching some of those. That's pretty incredible. Buffalo by Bicycle got kicked off. I thought you guys quit early. The one thing that we don't do is we quit early. We do not quit early. We make room for All Access, which we do have here today, and other shows, but we don't quit. That is not something that we do around these parts, Buffalo.
Hans mentioning that the 10-year bond auction can move the market today. We're getting a mention of that yesterday too, right? There was an auction today. We also had a lot of other economic news, but yeah.
That was in one of the stories earlier. I can't remember which one. Producer, maybe you can dig it up and link it. It was in one of those.
I'm just looking around, seeing what's
Me too.
what's moving. And there's a lot of, even the movers. They're just kind of in a bit of a holding pattern right now. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of movement up
No,
now.
there really doesn't. I don't have any good setups for you. I feel bad about it, but I don't have any good setups for you at the moment.
I'm seeing some of them that look like they have bearish patterns. BBAI might be one of those. Let's see what else here. No, maybe not DXF. FIO. This one looks like it's probably going to break down beneath the 165 level. It just keeps hammering it. I think it's going to lose it.
Kevin O'Leary, by the way, called for 400% tariffs on China. I don't know if we saw that. I don't think we mentioned that.
Okay, so we still have a ways to go then. Tyler asking, why is Apple going so high? I believe it has to do with the news about India wanting to work with the U.S. on reducing tariffs. So.
And that's the second India-related news headline that we've got that's specific to Apple. They had announced earlier this week that they were looking at moving more of their production there and anticipated that they could supply 50% of the U.S. demand by doing so.
Yes, Crocodile Dummy, ICCT is actually moving when the market isn't. This one looking like it's breaking a trend here. If you look at that 5-minute chart and draw a trend in the regular session, a trend line on the top there, you can see that we have just broken that into a halt on the upside. This may get going here, but I don't know how high it's going to go. We can look at our levels to the left. $5 looks like it could be the next resistance area if it breaks the session high today. So there's your next upside level. Looks like VERO is still trying to recapture some of these EMAs. That's keeping it down. Don't look now, but FMTO, that's under 10 cents. FIO, this thing did just break down beneath 165, just tested the 65 EMA. Looking for some support there. Beneath that, it looks like the next area of support is going to come around 130 to 135.
AEHL ripping here on volume. I don't see any news accompanying this move. This kind of just looks like a technical break of that pre-market high. But volume really expanding here. AEHL given a trade.
They just did a 1 for 40 reverse split last week, and they looks like they're trying to regain NASDAQ compliance clearly, but something else must be coming here that's causing this to rip. That's not the correct short interest, is it? No, it's not. I was going to say that was blowing my mind for a second. 99% of the float short is what the read was, and then I had to double check that, and it's not. But the float is very small now because of the 1 for 40 reverse split. 745,000 shares in the float now.
HUBC popping. This is a cybersecurity name. Was there news here? Yes. Selected by Casa di Risparmio, Delta Republica. Oh my good Lord. How did I even try to read that? That's in a language I can't even read. 20 million euro digital banking and infrastructure modernization project. This stock is popping here up almost 26% on that move. HUBC.
Ray lost its VWAP. This is looking like it is heading lower here. Just could not get above that wall of sellers at 210 and 211. MACD was kind of telling us if this crossing happens, we're going to trend lower. So far, that's happening. Don't know how low this is going to go. We are in a consolidation area from yesterday, but that ends at about $2, $2.05. So if we don't get support there, I think we do end up coming down to the 65 EMA, which is under $2. Looks like AREB was had a pop this morning and just sold steadily off. Looks like it's trying to find a bottom. It made a low of 721. I'll have to keep an eye on that. I'm not saying the bottom's in, but it's looking like it's trying to search out for one.
Smoke Tuna saying FMTO, forgot my trousers. Oops. Well done, Smoke Tuna.
Yeah, this company has no pants. It lost its pants. FIO, this thing printing beneath the 65 EMA, but still trying to recapture it. Might be trying to turn around here. Volume's not looking great, so trade it if you want. I'm I'd be waiting for more volume out of this one.
This kind of feels like a hand sitting day, or just kind of focus on those ETFs if you're looking for some exposure back and forth.
Yeah, those ETF directional trades have been just really good.
Yeah,
and
they
really
really
easy
have.
too.
Yeah.
Just get these massive moves to one side or the other, and then as soon as you get that massive extension to the away from VWAP in either one of those, you just start easing in, and you end up doing well. It's worked out pretty well. And that VVPR that ripped up to 408 and then just came right back into
Amazon cancels inventory orders from China due to tariffs.
Oh no. Wow. I wonder how much that is.
I don't have a number. I'm just reading the headline as I get it here.
And then what's even crazier about that is that just before that headline, they were seeking partners for a 15 billion warehouse expansion plan. So they're still anticipating importing or bringing in more products, or what? I mean, I guess it would be worth reading the news, wouldn't it? CNN Senate is discussing tariffs live. That may be the reason the market's going up. Oh, okay.
Market has actually stopped going up. Really did find some resistance there at 500. I know we printed above it, but realistically, we found resistance right at 500. It's going to take something else to get us above this here. And as Matt was saying earlier, don't rule out a rollback over to the lows, especially in the bear tape that we find ourselves in.
I mean, I think we've done pretty well, just with our expectations of what's supposed to be happening with this market. Yes, we haven't rolled over to new lows yet, but it's still not out of the realm of possibility to see that happen soon. I'm kind of curious to see if we end up, it'd be wild if we did, but I'm just curious to see if we end up repeating the pattern that we've been doing so far this week, where the price runs up or down to the previous day's open and then reverses. We had that on Monday. It ran up to Friday's open and then it reversed. Now, I know there was news. I know that was the whole the fake news thing, but nonetheless, it ended up getting up there and reversed. Same thing happened yesterday. The price only this time fell down to Monday's open and then, reversed. Not as much as it did yesterday, but it still reversed nonetheless. And that's just interesting that for 2 days now in a row, we have seen the price run up or down to the previous day's open.
Kodak popped here today.
Oh, man, this is a joke that will never get old.
No, it won't. Not really doing anything. I don't think there's another trade here, but I just wanted to mention it because we've covered Kodak so often.
What's really interesting is that the 500-day SMA, once it finds support from this thing, it looks like it just tends to go on a bit of a rally. Ever since February last year, when it broke out over it and leaned on it as support, every time that it came down and just went underneath it briefly, following days and weeks, just retire. Did that again. It did it in April last year. It did it in November last year. Maybe it does it again this year. It's going to have to get over that 200-day SMA though, in order for it to go higher.
Smoke Tuna mentioning TRNR setting up here, might be trying to go higher a little bit. TRNR.
DJT must be up 100% now. Today it's only up 6%.
What do you mean, Bigabees?
Yeah. And it's starting to look like the pattern it's putting in here is a bit bearish.
Thinking about it says things are developing at Kodak. I am slapping my knee thinking about it. Slapping my knee with that one.
Yeah, you just got to look at the big picture.
Oh, gosh. That's what we do here, folks.
We're thinking about we're tag teaming you today, dude.
Apple still holding up at the highs here. Netflix still holding up at the highs here. Really want to see Netflix break out from this 880 spot if it can.
Hub C on the radar says Smoke Tuna. Let's take a look at Hub C.
Yeah, that was the cybersecurity name we just
looked at. Gotcha. All right. Sorry, I missed that.
No, it's all good. This actually went higher. We were right up here, right near the pre-market high. This ended up popping and going more.
Looks like this ended up coming down about 310 is where support could be. That was where the gap started happening here on the 5-minute chart. I was trying to push up higher now. Just recaptured VWAP. 385 is the high from this session.
VIX here coiling right around 50.5, not breaking down anymore.
You thought Kodak was a quantum AI NFT company in space with rocket ships and everything.
Voodoo says I'm not overly exposed to Kodak. Voodoo joining in here today. Good to see you, Voodoo. All right, God. 2 minutes, and then we're going to go over to Dan for All Access. We're going to be coming back here quickly, or I will, for story trading. And we'll go from there. Futures fever after that.
Yeah, Kodak was being tapped for pharma. That was one of the big reasons why it started getting going during 2020 when Trump was mentioning something about that. But
okay,
it didn't frame up that way.
Any closing words for the group here, 13?
Oh, folks, I've been having a great time joking with you this morning. We just have to kind of wait and see what's going to happen with this market. It looks like we may get some other headline that drives it up or down. But until that happens, it seems like this is going to be just kind of a little bit of a more muted day, maybe sideways day. So just maintain those those expectations, and we'll see what we get later on today or tomorrow. We will trade the stocks then. Folks, have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy the next show with Dan. See you later, folks.
All right. That is 13. Take care. We will see you later. And 13's departure leaves room for Dan. A little known fact here. Dan was the lost member from the Ocean's 11 crew. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Dan, what ended up happening? Why didn't you get credit for knocking over those casinos?
Well, Ocean's 11, 12, and 13. I just did some stuff behind the scenes that caused some issues with Clooney and Brad Pitt. So I was involved. I got some of the share, but I wasn't allowed to be in the movie.
Okay. Good stuff. Dan, what do you got coming up here on All Access?
Great to see you, by the way. I like the camo today. You're ready for battle.
I'm always ready. Dan, I woke up ready.
That's why you're my guy. I'm very excited to bring on Amir London, the CEO of Kamada Pharmaceuticals. So looking forward to a great discussion, my friend.
All right. Take it away, Dan. All Access starts right now.
Hey, Zingers, and welcome to All Access. I've got a wonderful guest for you today. It is Amir London, the CEO of Kamada Pharmaceuticals. The NASDAQ ticker is KMDA. He's joining us for an exclusive talk today. All Access starts right now. And it is my pleasure to welcome in the CEO of Kamada Pharmaceuticals, Amir London. It's fantastic to be with you today, Amir.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure and honor is all mine. Well, let's just start off here and give everyone an overview of your company, if you would.
Yes, absolutely. Kamada is a publicly traded commercial stage biopharmaceutical company focused on specialty plasma-derived products, a very unique biopharmaceutical field of activity. We are global leaders in that field with 6 FDA-approved products. Everything we do is life-saving therapeutics. We are vertically integrated from plasma collection through R&D, development, clinical trials, production, all the way to commercializing our products in over 35 countries across the globe.
That's amazing stuff. And let's dive a little deeper, Amir. What are plasma-derived therapeutics, and why is this approach especially powerful?
Okay, thank you very much. So plasma-derived therapeutics are basically therapeutics, drugs, which are made from human plasma. So we collect human plasma in plasma collection centers, mainly based in the US. We have the ability to collect plasma from people that have high titer, high antibody level against specific viruses. We know how to quantify the potency of those antibodies, and we know how to purify them into drugs, into pharmaceuticals that are used in all kinds of acute cases. I'll give maybe just 2 examples. One product called Kedrab, or outside of the US, Camrab, which is anti-rabies immunoglobulin, which means anti-rabies antibodies. for people that were exposed to a potentially rabid animal, which is a deadly disease. The second type of product is our cytogam, which is an anti-CMV. CMV is a type of virus, which is the number one reason for rejection or failure of solid organ transplantation. Patients that are exposed to this virus may lose their new organ, and we give them a boost of those specific antibodies as part of their procedure. So these are really acute cases, acute care, transplantation, very unique products, and we've developed a significant know-how. We've been around for 35 years. We've been public on NASDAQ since 2013, and we're making great progress in our unique field of activity.
No, it's absolutely fascinating stuff. And I know, Amir, you had a positive year-end report. Revenue was up 13% year over year. What were the main drivers of this growth, as well as your 2025 guidance, and what will contribute to this year's growth?
Excellent. So we had a very good year. 2024 was a record year for Kamada. By the way, just yesterday, on the 7th, so 2 days ago, it was the first time that we actually paid dividend based on the very strong results of 2024. Yeah, it's good to be in a CEO of a company that just paid dividend for the first time. I'm sure that the shareholders like me today.
Yes.
In any case, we had a very strong year. We've grown based on multiple products. We opened plasma collection centers. We grew significantly our anti-rabies product in the US market from $32 million in the year prior to $50 million sales in 2024. We've grown our cytogam, the CMV product, which I mentioned earlier, from $17 million to around $23 million. So this was a very good year for us in terms of significant growth drivers. Moving between 24 to 25, I'm happy to say that we're basically growing in all our lines of business, in all products. So it's a really well-balanced growth, not just focused on one product, one territory, but across multiple pillars of growth that we have. And we guided the market will be selling in 2025 between $178 to $182 million, with EBITDA between $38 to $42 million. We're running at around 22-23% of EBITDA from top line. We've been improving our bottom line and top line every year, double digits in the last few years, and we've improved the rate of EBITDA from top line, which means that we are growing in a very profitable way.
Those are great numbers. And listen, they always love you as CEO, Amir, but definitely love you even more when there's a dividend. So that's great stuff. I know you had mentioned your target to expand commercial operations through M&A. Could you elaborate on what types of M&A you're looking to secure right now?
Yeah, so we're trying, of course, to look for target opportunities, and we're screening for opportunities in areas as synergetic as possible to our current business. So we are, as I mentioned, a commercial stage. We have products already in the US. We have our commercial team focused on plasma-derived and transplantation centers. We're covering all major transplant centers in the US. We're looking even broader than that. We have activities also in the Middle East where we have our own commercial team distributing our products. So it's an area of multiple areas that we're looking at, and we're very optimistic that we'll be able to execute at least one transaction in licensing or M&A this year. We finished the year with over $78 million, and we plan that this money will mainly be used in order to accelerate the growth through acquisitions.
Of course. And I know you've expanded your plasma collection capabilities. What is the strategic goal, Amir, around this activity?
Right. So we are opening plasma collection centers. We opened one in Houston in September of last year, just recently opened another one in San Antonio. These are very large, automated, highly advanced plasma centers. We focus on specialty plasma for our needs, anti-rabies, anti-hepatitis, anti-D, and we're also using the balanced capacity in each one of those centers to collect what's called normal source plasma, regular plasma, which is being used basically for other purposes, making it more like generic type of immunoglobulins. And this is something that we're going to sell out to our external partners. So it's both being more vertically integrated, more independent, reducing our cost of goods, and being able to increase our top line by selling plasma to external partners.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I wanted to get you to tell me a little bit about your lead product, inhaled AAT, and what the next milestone is.
Correct. So this is a lead product in development. So as I said, we have 6 FDA-approved products. We have multiple clinical programs. The most advanced one is a next generation investigational treatment for a disease called alpha deficiency. We are selling through an agreement with Takeda in the US, the kind of third generation product, which is an IV treatment, infused treatment. We've been able, using our advanced technology, to also develop it as an inhaled, nebulized, non-invasive treatment done by patient at home without need to go to the clinic. It's in the middle of the phase 3 study. Next milestone will be towards end of this year. We're going to have an interim data based on statistical analysis that we're going to do using an external kind of unblinded committee, which is going to look into our, have a peek into our data and give us feedback on the data to date. Yes, so this will be by the end of the year. As mentioned, we are on midway into the phase 3 pivotal study. This area is already around $1.2, $1.3 billion, growing significantly. We expect that if we are successful in the current study and we bring the product to the market, we will be a major player in a $2 billion market. So this can be a really very nice add-on to our existing growing business.
I love it. Very exciting times at Kamada Pharmaceuticals. Listen, it was an absolute pleasure talking with you today, Amir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Dan, and good luck. Bye-bye. Thank you.
You as well. Look forward to talking again soon. That was the CEO of Kamada Pharmaceuticals, Amir London. Their NASDAQ ticker is KMDA. Now let's send it back to the Alexander Ovechkin, to my Wayne Gretzky, the great Ryan Faluna.
Okay, I'm not sure how to take that. I played defense. Didn't play wing, played defense when I played hockey earlier.
You're Bobby Orr. You're the Bobby Orr to my Wayne Gretzky.
I didn't have the speed Bobby Orr did, but I did have the shoulder. I would put that through people. So, Dan, okay, awesome stuff there on All Access. We'll catch up with you on the next one, all right?
Always the best seeing you, Ryan.
Take care. So good to be seen. Take care of yourself, Dan. All right, that is Dan Leach for All Access. That paves the way for the Story Trading crew. Let's bring them on and see how they're doing here. Ben, how's it going? Here comes Rhett. We got Godfather today. Ask and you shall receive. Here comes the Godfather. How are you folks doing here today?
Doing well. I'm doing well, thank God. I've been in the zone, believe it or not, the last 2 weeks. I just did a calculation yesterday to see how I've done in the last 10 days because I've been taking money out every day. One of the lessons I learned, Ryan, after that great 2024, where I was up hundreds of percent, I didn't take any money out at the peak. And then we had a bit of a drawdown here last month. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take money out of my account each and every single day. So I actually made a formula for myself. I'm like, I take out it's something like 0.02% of my account as a dividend every single day. And if I make a profit, I take out 50% of my profits and I pay myself. So because of these money coming out, it's not easy to see my percent return. So I had to do a calculation. If I didn't take all that money out in the past 10 days, I would actually be up 2.5% here in the last 10 days while the market's been crashing. Are you a baseball fan, Ryan?
I am.
Do you remember Barry Bonds back when he had those steroids back in 2004?
I remember Barry Bonds back when he was fast, before he had the steroids.
Oh,
so, yeah,
when he was
that.
fast and he was thin. I saw him at Veterans Stadium when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and man, he caught those fly balls in the outfield pretty cool, the way he caught those fly balls. But back in 2004, they intentionally walked this guy with no one on base. It was crazy. He was in the zone, and that's how I feel here in the last 10 days. I've been in the zone predicting basically every move in SPY a week ahead of time. So I had a pretty good idea of how this week would play out. Today, though, is the most challenging day of all my predictions. I think today's potentially it's a chop. You can see it's a chop day, potentially a transitory day into a surprise rally tomorrow. That's what I'm thinking could happen. We could get a bear market rally tomorrow. So that's my thinking today. A little bit challenging because it is a chop transition day, but anyway, that's the big picture for you, Ryan.
Okay, I didn't have transitory on my bingo card here today.
Just for a one-day pop, bear market rally.
So stick with that. What will we call it? SGH, stock growth hormone. Just going on the Barry Bonds reference there. All right, guys, have fun here today. Let me get your screen up here. I'll get out of your hair. I'll see you in a little bit.
All right, cool. Wow. So welcome, Rhett. Welcome, Godfather. Let me give you my quick analysis on SPY, and then we'll move along to some other stuff. But look, my everything chart has been this 200-week moving average line. So, and I still think this purple line, I still think that's a magnet. And unless there's some sort of crazy miracle, catalyst that comes, and I don't see it, man. We could get some form of a positive catalyst, a deal with some country, later today, tomorrow, Friday. And maybe that saves us from an immediate move to that 200-week moving average. But I think that's a magnet. I think we're going to test it at some point. That's around 460. So that's my everything chart. And, I we'll see. We have the 1 p.m. 10-year auction on bonds. And honestly, here, one of the reasons that I think we could rally tomorrow is the news was terrible last night. All right. Between the bonds selling off and then this morning, China retaliating again. And I said this in pre-market, to only see SPY was down 0.5% in pre-market. I was like, that's a dangerous sign if you're short this market. We could really be setting up for a rally. Let me pause there because I think I'm guessing, Godfather, you have a similar idea you've been saying for the last day or so that risk is to the upside. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just put out an X post saying exactly that. I think it's a staircase down, elevator up market, which is sort of the opposite of what we normally see. And that's because in the short term, as you say often, and correctly so, in the short term, sentiment is the kingmaker. Fundamentals matter, in the long game, but in the short term, it's all about sentiment. And I mean, to say we're extremely bearish, look at the level of the VIX. It tells you everything you need to know. Look at what's performing and what's not. So, but look, sharp squeezes are going to continue to be sold until there's some strong sense of policy change or some return to certainty. And clearly we're a ways off from that. I have been and will continue to short pops in volatility because I am confident that over time we see a reversion to the mean, and that means that certainty does come back into this market in some way, shape, or form, even just through passage of time. I am of the strong view, and I've held this since the outset, that the policies as they are currently articulated, this reciprocal tariff, if you want to call it that, it's massively stagflationary, not just inflationary, but stagflationary. It will push the US into a recession. There is no two ways about it. So I don't think ultimately Trump wants a recession. Sure, some growth slowdown. They keep saying this over and over again. We care more about Main Street than Wall Street in the short term. Fine, but recession. Besson even said in that interview, I don't know if you guys remember, but in that All In podcast, Trump said to him, how do we get the debt down and not push the U.S. into recession? So look, trade is 100% of the headlines, but it's 15% of the economy. It's the second derivative effects. It's the massive disruption in the supply chain. It's all of this, the markets are a confidence game, not just the capital markets, but in business markets as a whole. Without any of that, you have nothing. And we could very quickly and easily tip into recession. Some say we are already there. So all of this lends me to believe that this is a negotiation. I think that's been made clear now. We have seen the high water mark, aside from these retaliations, which I think will get walked back. And eventually, things like fundamentals will matter. But right now, we're solidly in that sort of, sentiment range where, forget it. I feel bad for names like Berna because, these are good companies that are, are well positioned and are going to report great numbers, but the market's probably not going to care. That's just the we're in.
But we'll get to more Berna in just a second. What's your take on what happened with the bonds last night and yields and this, 1 p.m. 10-year auction? To be honest with you, I was like I said, I was one of the reasons I was bullish this morning. I really thought there was a chance of SPY being down much more this morning on that, and the fact that wasn't, again, a dangerous sign for shorts. But what's your take on everything that transpired there this last night?
Yeah, like in markets like this, we really need to pay attention to what we know and what we don't know, and then focus on the things that we think we should be focusing on in terms of clues. And look, this basis trade is real. It's 800 billion worth. There's 100x leverage at work. The This is the sort of thing that sees dislocation quickly. And we saw this in 2020.
I mean, I think this was a record move right here. The speed of this is a TLT. It's not like a rates chart, but I heard people talking about last night, and they said the speed of this drop, whatever that correlates to, right, 94 to 86, is something no one's ever seen before.
There's a lot of money at work in things like the basis trade. It's not that different from the carry trade, and there's a lot of leverage involved in that. So when there's major market dislocations, something very big could break. So I think there's fears over that. I do think there's probably some foreign selling and some other games being played. Clearly we saw it. All you had to do was look at the Chinese market, basically hugging the flat line to being up small, to know that there's manipulation in all of these markets. That's clearly at work here. So it's a combination of these things. But going back to what I said, we need to watch a couple of things, and I've said this over and over in the Discord. Right now, we need to watch rates, and you need to watch the dollar, because if you get rates backing up, the dollar falling, and equities falling, we could see a Liz Truss moment here, right? This is bond vigilante territory. If they team up with the foreign buyers of our debt as a way to put up their dukes to Trump's policies, they're going to win. Ultimately, they're going to win.
I got the UUP. I don't know much about the US dollar. I never trade it. I'm not even sure what tickers or how to look it up. In terms of currency is not something I do. But is this a good proxy? UUP, are you familiar with that ticker?
Yes. Yeah. I like a market where I've got individual stock tickers on my screen, but I'll tell you what my screen looks like right now.
Yeah.
Yang, SVIX, SPXS, SPY, TLT, GLD, and UUP.
Yeah.
This is what my main screens look like right now, and I hate this kind of environment. But unfortunately, nothing else matters until we see some resolution of this. So you got to trade the market that you're in, and as I said in the Discord this morning, for most people, it's not the type of market that you can or should be trying to trade. If you have a long equity portfolio, you should have some short equities to hedge that. If you're concerned, if you're not, and you have cash on the sidelines, you should be DCAing, or just holding your cash as a hedge. Everything else, Yang and gold and TLT and VIX and all of this, every time you put a trade like that on, you're putting capital at risk. So none of these things by default are hedges. So yeah, it's a double black diamond market right now, and for most people, it's not appropriate.
So for most people, I will say that there are a lot of people, including Rhett, who's doing great in our community, trading the indices on the day-to-day predictions we're making. Also, Yosef in our community, wow, making big money each and every single day. So it depends on your personality and your skill set and your focus. So we do guide on that. I do give daily levels on SPY every morning, which have been hitting almost precisely every day. So it really got to know yourself and your personality and your skill set and your risk tolerance. And there are opportunities there.
Smaller size and smaller durations allow for better decision making.
That's absolutely true. Real quick, Rhett, did you want to jump in with anything? Before I wanted to ask Godfather more about UUP, but Rhett, I'll give you a chance to chime in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I picked up some more GLD calls, and I'm probably gonna scalp them real quick. It's playing out nice right now. I'm really liking your thesis on that.
We'll see what happens. GLD was my highest conviction pick for today. It did shoot right out of the gate. With the common shares I picked up this morning doing well. Options are harder for me. I do have some options. But options are much harder. But in any case, the GLD thesis working since the pre-market alert we gave in the Discord. It was around 281, I think. It was here. It was here, actually, around 280.20. That's when I gave it. So the common shares are up big. But let me just go back, Godfather, on UUP. I don't know much about currencies at all, and you're saying you're watching the UUP carefully. I know to watch the TLT and the bonds carefully, but what are the dynamics that are pushing the U.S. dollar, and what are the ramifications of that? Meaning, is it the currency? Like people are, I guess, huge entities are trading currency, and that's what would drive down the U.S. dollar. Is that how it happens?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not buying U.S. Treasuries, you don't need your U.S. dollars. So, what is China doing with, if you look, and I sent a chart in the Discord, they held 1.3 trillion worth of U.S. Treasuries. They're down to 761 million or something by last count. And the chart that I showed gold holdings, which over the same period went from 50 billion to like 450 billion. So clearly there's some rotation there. But otherwise, if they're selling U.S. Treasuries, you're going to see that both obviously in the rates, and you're going to see it in weakening U.S. dollar. So it's a supply demand thing. They're selling U.S. dollars. So what are they doing with that money? Well, you can see it. They're holding their indices even for the day. They're flooding a domestic economy with liquidity. And you're seeing that around the world. Actually, we saw how many countries cut rates last night. New Zealand,
someone in our Discord yesterday,
India, Kenya, blah blah blah.
Someone in our Discord yesterday gave us a ticker. Let me see if I can find it. It's a ETF for Swiss franc, and that was seeing crazy. Is it FXF? It's FXF. Check this out.
Yeah, you look at the yen. I mean, the franc and the yen are the
Look at that.
traditional safe haven currencies, right? So it's not surprising to see strength in all those.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if there's anything else on the macro I want to touch on. So yes, I am. This is very counterintuitive. I don't know if I covered this part, but I am thinking. I think I am positioning for a rally tomorrow. Man, I got to tell you, it's hard because I said this in pre-market that everything from a catalyst and sentiment point of view tells you sell, 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 short, short, short. After what happened with bonds last night, what happened with China. But I'm positioning for a rally tomorrow, and I tell you, I don't have a ton of conviction doing this, but I'm trying to stick with my plan because I've been so accurate. And last Wednesday night, I was saying buy on Wednesday for a rally tomorrow. Now it was for the catalyst was slightly different. I thought the catalyst at that point would be a light CPI, which is meaningless, but just used as an excuse, right? But I never imagined that we'd be in the depths of this China escalation so fast here now that we're here. All right, so it's making it hard psychologically for me to position long. But as I said, I think the reason I'm doing it is not only sticking with my plan because I've been so spot on, but the fact that we were down so little. What did you also read something into that this morning? Like I really thought there was a chance for this morning to be like 4, 5, 6, 7% down with what we were seeing in bonds last night. Seeing the market down just like 0.5% in pre-market, do you also see that as a sign that we could be popping soon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've come down a lot. Look at it. It's a very confusing market, right? The markets aren't cheap. The path of least resistance is down. The more there is uncertainty, the more impact that ultimately has on both multiples and earnings, and that's a double whammy. At the end of the day, what's the market? It's a big price over earnings ratio. Earnings season is going to suck, right? Companies are suspending guidance. We're seeing it across the board. Companies will use the cover of what's going on with tariffs to kitchen sink quarters. Companies don't want to announce good news in bad markets. They don't want to waste it on a bad backdrop because they're not going to get a share response for it. So, all these things contribute to a path of least resistance longer term down, as long as there's not some quick policy change here. But I think the flip side of that is sentiment is extremely bearish. This is a hair trigger market. We see it every time there's a piece of news, whether it's real or not. And by the way, that's the other thing, I really want to point out here. Folks need to be very careful because misinformation thrives in hair trigger markets, and we're in that kind of market. So,
and that's actually one of my theses for a possible rally tomorrow is, look, I think it's going to be, unless something dramatic changes by Friday, I think it's going to be very hard for people to hold on to stocks going into a weekend. So I'm predicting, going back to this 200-week moving average, I'm thinking there's a chance we see that 460 by the close on on Friday. Again, if there's some catalyst, a major deal with EU or something like that, off the table. And my prediction for Friday for that move is actually why I think there's a chance for what you just said, for like fake headlines tomorrow, like people who want to get out ahead of the weekend might just manufacture something like we saw on Monday.
That's another reason why it's not an appropriate market for most people to try to trade. I tend to agree with you at this point. I think that 460 is looking more and more like a magnet. Again, nothing breeds nothing breeds market direction more convincingly than uncertainty. And until that changes, I mean, look, we got a long ways to go here to get to a market where people are comfortable. There's going to be some tradable bottoms, but an investable bottom, wow. We need to have a lot more certainty to know even if 460 will be, certainly it's going to be a tradable bottom. Whether it's investable, that's going to depend on the course of policy here. It's untenable. That's my main view, that it's untenable, which by definition means it cannot persist. It simply cannot in the global economy. So it's going to have to change, and the hand is going to be forced, and it's going to be forced by the largest pool of capital, which is the bond market. So this is why you need to watch rates and why you need to watch
what do you think today at 1 p.m.? I don't even know how to characterize what a good auction would be or a bad auction, other than what they'll tell me on TV right afterwards. But
I think it's no different than an earnings report, frankly. It's going to have a lot to do with positioning. Obviously, the positioning is extremely bearish. Japan has come out and said, hey, we're not going to screw around with our current treasury holdings. Will they call in favors from UK and Japan, which are the two largest foreign buyers outside of China, to see this auction go off well because they're in the midst of negotiations with them on trade? Like, we don't know. Probably, possibly.
So what do you think if
GLD is now high day?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, 280. I had a crazy target this morning. We'll see if it happens. I said it's possible we get to 289 today, which would be like an epic move for gold, but like everything's trading like a penny stock right now. So let's see if that happens. But in any case, so I think this will be the most watched bond auction ever by retail investors today at 1 p.m.
For sure.
If it turns out bad, whatever that means quantitatively, I mean, what does that change your opinion about, maybe getting a little relief bounce here? Or do we like head straight back down if that's about
for sure. We'll again, it's on expectations, right? And positioning. People are positioning for a really lousy auction, and I'm not sure how it couldn't be, but does it end up being less lousy than people anticipated going in, and we see a rally? In which case, gold's obviously going to trade inversely here because, right now rates are going up.
Ooh, I like that.
One of which is that people are losing confidence in the U.S.'s ability, as the the gold-plated economy in the world. So, if the U.S. goes into recession and the U.S. consumer goes into hibernation, the whole premise for this trade, having all the cards, as Trump likes to say, goes out the window, because it's the global underpinning of consumption by the U.S. consumer that's allowing Trump to play these strong cards. But if that goes away, confidence in that goes away, what are you left with? Well, people are going to demand a higher rate from U.S. debt. And look, if the confidence returns to the U.S. again, and gold's going to sell off dramatically. But this is why the two are trading it inversely today. So
very nice. All right, that gives me more confidence in my topic of the day, GLD. Maybe I'll have to add more after we get off this call. Let me just quickly talk about a couple individual stocks. Now, what I've been doing personally, and maybe it's been the wrong decision. I don't know. But like, I knew this drawdown was coming from a long time ago, and I've been warning our community to go to cash and just be a lot more cautious. I decided to hold on to 3 stocks long in my trading account. That's Berna, which has earnings tomorrow, Kodak, and ASTS. And the way I've been doing it is my thought process is let me trade hedge, pretty much on a daily basis, trade the indices, whatever it's my targets, hold on to hedge, whatever it may be, in order to try to keep my account balance roughly stable. Now, if I had just thrown away these longs and only traded the hedge, I'd be up huge. But I'm up 2% in the last 10 days doing that. And my thinking was, look, I'm too much of a sucker for small, micro caps that might explode one day, to be honest with you. So I'm like, I just want to hold on to these stocks, and I'll be way ahead of everybody, right? If I can hold on to my 3 core holdings and my account doesn't go down, maybe on the other side of this, when we get the catalyst that we want, Berna's tomorrow, and Kodak, I'm looking for maybe a huge catalyst regarding pharmaceutical tariffs and Trump. If we get those catalysts and launches coming up for ACS, then I'll be way ahead of the game. That's been my thinking. Maybe it's been the wrong thinking. I tend to agree with you on Berna, and I'm a little bit worried about it because I do have a pretty big position that, even if we get a great report tomorrow morning, maybe the market's not going to care. But on the other hand, I do want to point out Air earnings this morning. At one point, Air was up 20%. It's giving a lot of it back, but that gives me a little hope for Berna earnings tomorrow. So, yeah, I'll let you quickly. Actually, if you can just do it in 2 or 3 minutes, because I want to touch on Kodak. But Berna, you've been all over it. If you want to quickly give your thesis, and do you still recommend buying this ahead of earnings at this point?
Oh, look, how's the stock going to react is a function of what's the backdrop at the time that they release. I think it's going to be good numbers. Is the market going to care? I couldn't tell you. It all depends on, what the market's thinking at that time. All correlations go to 1. And I wanted to make this point, my sort of last point on gold. That includes gold. Why did gold sell off the last couple of days? People are looking for liquidity, and they'll look for it from gold if they need to. It becomes a necessity, right? It's not an investment decision necessarily. It becomes a necessity when you have a liquidity squeeze. So you get it from wherever you can. So, and that's why I say, gold isn't really a hedge. If you have a U.S. stock portfolio, you should be short U.S. stocks to hedge that. So that's that point. But to your point on Berna, look, as I said before, in the short term, sentiment is the kingmaker. In the long term, fundamentals win. That is the long game. If you own Berna, look, this is a company without any leverage. It's a company that's looking at a product mix change that's going to be well in their favor in terms of margins and volumes. This compact launcher is exactly what the market has been looking for. If you think about the applications for this, for personal protection,
most importantly, since we're short on time, let's talk about the tariffs. They've already talk about tariffs not really impacting them much.
Yeah. So this is a made in America company. Look, if there's unrest that's created by dislocation, civil unrest, people getting very excited about their financial situation and otherwise, maybe personal protection, slides to the top. It's already, high income earners that are buying this product, right? This is a $300, $400 item that's, discretionary. Some for the personal safety might see it as other than discretionary. But look, I think they're well positioned, both from a tariff standpoint, financially, I think from a business plan execution standpoint. I think management has been making a lot of good moves and should be applauded for it. And I don't think the stock is particularly expensive. That said, market goes down, the stock will go down with it. It's a risk asset at the end of the day. It's an equity. BYRN, for the people that are asking, what's the ticker symbol on Berna? And the reason we're talking about this is A, because we like it fundamentally, B, because technically it's looking like it's at some key support levels here around 14.15, and thirdly, because it reports tomorrow morning before close or before open.
Very good. And just in the last minute or so here, I'll say Kodak is something, despite what you said, right? Market goes down, this one will go down with it. There is optionality upside here that could be triggered even even inside in the middle of a terrible situation, there could be a major catalyst that would cause Kodak to buck the market trend. And that's pharmaceutical tariffs. Real quick, let me see if I can do this quickly enough. But in Trump 1.0, Trump administration gave like a close to $1 billion loan to Kodak to build out. And this is what this move was. See this move to 60 to build pharmaceutical manufacturing in the United States. That loan was later rescinded because of inside trader allegations, which had nothing to do with Kodak executives, but other people. And then Kodak went ahead with the plans anyway with their own money. And they've been working on building this pharmaceutical manufacturing plant, which is set to open this year. Don't know the exact timing, but on the last conference call, the CEO said that it will, using the definitive word will, we will be opening. It's called a Certified Good Manufacturing Practice facility approved by the FDA, CGMP, to create active pharmaceutical ingredients, API. And that's exactly what's in the conversation now about these pharmaceutical tariffs to bring manufacturing of APIs into the United States. And Kodak at this point will for sure be launching this year and will for sure have customers and will for sure have demand. And it's very possible that you can get some sort of event, some sort of Trump coming out and saying, hey, look at this great American company, Kodak, they're helping to onshore, manufacturing active pharmaceutical ingredients. That's a possibility. And that's why this is one stock I haven't let go of. And there's a lot of other tariff tailwinds, actually, which benefit Kodak. So I've also bought this in my retirement account that I'm holding through the storm on Kodak. So
one of the few names, individual stock names that I've added to of late, because I think you're spot on that thesis. I can't think of another American company that, and Trump likes to do this, right? He likes to showcase his ideas with American success stories. And I believe that they're very well positioned with the administration for the reasons you mentioned. This was a key part of Trump 1.0. And, I think it's a good opportunity for him to, highlight his forward thinking and his past successes and, how he's going to make this, legacy Canadian or legacy American company great again, right? It fits the bill perfectly. And, not to mention the fact that they have a pension collapse that's leading to a liquidity event for them, which is repairing their balance sheet. So there's a lot of good things happening all at once for a company that's been, for the most part, ignored by the market.
Ryan, when Godfather and I agree, you best listen. I think I might have to go buy more Kodak, getting that endorsement from him on that on that stock. That's great.
Okay. Who would have thought we'd be talking about Kodak?
Oh, you're going to be hearing more about it.
You're not kidding. I think that we are going to hear more about that. Okay. Real good stuff here, folks. Thanks again for everything. Story trading, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. All right.
Thank you,
All
everyone.
right. Take care, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Ben, Rhett, and Godfather, they will be back. Good stuff from them here. All right, folks, we're done for the day. I'm going to send you over to Futures Fever here with Kevin coming up. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused, and we will see you